What's happening, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another program, another LTMB Live. This is Let the Madness Begin. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
What's going on, everybody? Again, thank you for being here. We have much on the plate to get to tonight.
All 6 of years.
I'm saying, right? We're expecting some more. We're gonna expect some more.
Maybe they're getting ready for that hurricane or something.
Yeah, that could be.
We might not have a show on Thursday.
That's true. It's late Thursday night.
So it's supposed to hit Thursday night.
Yeah.
They're evacuating.
Well, yeah, of course. Like, we're in South Carolina. So, in South Carolina, there's already been a state of emergency already declared. Several other states have declared states of emergency as well as Washington, D.C., I believe. The whole coast of South Carolina is under mandatory evacuation, as is several counties in North Carolina. What's interesting, though, is last I checked, the city of Wilmington is not under mandatory evacuation, which it looks like they're right in the pathway.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to curve upwards towards North Carolina. North Carolina is supposed to get it worse than South Carolina, so that is kind of odd.
Yeah, but as of right now, I don't think the mayor has called for it. So that's crazy. But it is suggested that the people that live in that area get up out of there.
What category?
It's a category 4 right now. It lessened a little bit earlier today, but it still was around that 130 miles per hour winds. I don't believe it's going to get to the category of a 5, but still like 130, 140 miles per hour. That's a devastating storm. It's been described as a monster. I believe the last storm that actually made landfall that was this powerful was back in '89. Hurricane Hugo.
Yeah. That was 5, wasn't it?
Not
4.
That was 1989.
No.
It was a 4. It was a 4.
Yeah,
it was a hurricane. Yeah, category 4. Like I said, it's been described as a monster. There's going to be much rain. We don't know how much flooding. All we know is that the current path is heading straight for the Carolinas. So if you're there, get out, don't risk it. We're more inland. We're like in the middle of the state, so really, all I really expect is some rain.
Y'all was still in New York.
Yeah, I was still in New York, right?
Yeah. We had just moved from Charleston, like 5 months before Hugo hit.
You moved to Charleston?
From Charleston.
Oh, from Charleston.
Like 5 months before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our neighborhood got ransacked.
I know. Well, I have some family down there, too. And, they told me about trailers being overturned.
Man.
Yeah, man. It like, anybody that was around here back then knows about Hugo. Like, they have a vivid memory of Hugo. So, again, I believe more than 1 million people are under mandatory evacuation orders. This is a monster. It's been described as the Harvey of the East Coast. We know the damage that Harvey wrecked in Houston. So don't take any chances. If you're in the area where it's projected to hit, get out. Don't just buckle down and say, I'll take it, blah, blah, blah. Nah, get out. There's also a state of emergency for the Northern Mariana Islands in the Pacific Ocean. They're expected to get a typhoon, which is pretty much the same thing. It's just in the Pacific Ocean. It's called something else, but it's Typhoon Mangut. So I think it might hit maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday, I believe. But they say that, I've read that it may, get to the level of super typhoon, which is the very most, the worst kind of typhoon that there is. So that's gonna impact the whole area of like the Philippines, like the Philippines area of responsibility. So there's some storms, like I said, that's projected to do a lot of damage, and I believe there's also 2 other storms that are in the ocean right now, I believe coming through the Atlantic Ocean, but I don't believe they're projected to actually make landfall with the United States. So like I said,
we are in that season, man.
We're in that season, but it's not the season to talk about climate change, though.
It's never. It's
not the season to talk about climate change.
It's actually never the season to talk about climate change.
No. That would be too far. No,
you wouldn't want to politicize the weather, would you?
No.
Or the climate. You wouldn't want to politicize the climate.
Of course not. Yeah, this is the wrong time. So anyway, like I said, it's a monster. Get out if you can. You can right now, so get out. Also, of course, today is September 11th, 17th anniversary of the September 11th attacks in New York City, at the Pentagon, and the Flight 93 that crashed down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So definitely want to honor those individuals that lost their lives and people that are still impacted by it, of course. President Trump, of course, this is a day when the president is going to be making some remarks and
obviously,
and going to go to an event and speak. I believe he began the day on Twitter by saying 17 years since September 11th! Exclamation point. That's a fact. It is a fact. Yeah. Thank you for counting correctly.
I will say that if we're judging him, maybe on how he typically acts and responds to certain situations, that's actually like a thumbs up. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, but I'm kind of glad that's where he left it.
It could have been worse.
You know what? That bar has been lowered.
Yeah. There was somebody that responded on Twitter that said, "Him do good math."
Wow.
Bar lowered,
man.
But yeah, he did go to an event in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, though, to honor those people that did die on a Flight 93.
Do you think that like kind of the imagery of the planes going into the towers kind of overshadows those other events, like the plane going into the Pentagon and the plane in Shanksville? Because I don't really hear a lot of people talk about those other ones.
It overshadows it, definitely. You really don't hear about the Pentagon too much, or like you said, even in Shanksville.
Unless you're talking about like kind of the conspiracy theories and the inconsistencies in the wreckage in the Pentagon, people talk about it. But as far as like just in general,
I guess more people, of course, died in the World Trade Center.
Of course.
Then you have to realize the World Trade Center was an iconic image, too.
And not to mention some of the first responders are still suffering some health effects because of all the dust and debris that fell on that day. Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely want to highlight today. Definitely, it's a day that will never be forgotten. I remember exactly where I was at work, listening to the radio and hearing the news reports of it. Still is as vivid as can be in my head.
I was actually in school. It was some sort of drawing class because I was in architectural design, and like there was like a part. It was like a 2-part program or like a 2-class program, where there was like one class where you did like blueprint and sketching, and then the other part where you do like drawing and whatnot. And the teacher had us outside, and we had to draw a building from our vantage point. Basically, everybody's building was going to look different. He's like, we had to draw this building from your vantage point, so everybody's building was going to look different. Teacher comes out, like, plane just hit the World Trade Center. Yo, we all looked at her like, we were like, we don't think so. We just didn't believe it. And her facial expression didn't change. We were like, yo, she is serious. So we all got up, went back in the classroom. Of course, TV was on, news coverage, and we saw it. Crazy, man. I went to work that day.
I left work early because everybody
left work. See, I went to work after I got out of school. Went to work after I got out of school. Dead. Dead. Like we wasn't doing nothing.
The nation was like at a standstill.
Yeah.
And I remember like the first plane that hit. I think a lot of people were just shocked at like the event, but nobody was really. I guess clear as to if it was like an actual terrorist agenda or what. It was just like, damn, was this an accident? Nobody knew. The moment when the second plane hit, that's when it was like, oh shit,
yeah,
what in the hell is happening? That's when it was like, because I was listening the second plane, I'm like, oh man. So like I said, man, I'm sure anybody that anybody alive and that was around back then, they can probably tell you exactly what was happening in their life and the moment they found out. I remember going home watching on TV. It was just, like I said, man, a moment that will never be forgotten. So definitely honoring those everybody that was impacted by that is a worthy cause. It's something that has to be done every single year, every day, really. All right, so let's move on. Anybody seen the Miss America pageant? I did not.
I didn't see the Miss America pageant. I think we did a segment on the Miss America pageant a few months ago.
We did.
A detailing that they were going to get rid of the swimsuit competition.
Right. And they did.
And they did.
Right.
So this was the first one.
This was the first one.
They made that change.
That's correct. And it was Miss New York that actually emerged as the winner, Nia Franklin. Again, I didn't watch it at all. I didn't even know it was on until the next day. I think it was on Sunday night, and then Monday I heard about it. But yeah, like you said, they did do away with the swimsuit competition, and they replaced it with a red carpet competition. I guess I don't know if it was. I guess it's still a competition, but it was like like an event, red carpet, and the women were allowed to wear whatever they wanted to.
Yeah.
So it was their choice. It didn't have to be anything in particular, just whatever they wanted to. So there was a lot of backlash about it. A lot of people didn't really think it was like a novel idea. It kind of fell flat on its face. But anyway, really the most noteworthy thing that happened was actually at the beginning of the event of the Miss America pageant, and that's when Miss Michigan, Emily Sioma, she made a statement that probably went over the heads over a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people I'm sure a lot of people didn't even notice what she said, but this is what she said at the beginning of the event.
From a state with 84% of the U.S. fresh water, but none for its residents to drink, I am Miss Michigan, Emily Sioma.
Yo, she kind of like said it real quick.
Yeah.
And I guarantee.
So let me, if you didn't catch it, she said, from the state with 84% of the U.S. fresh water, but none for its residents to drink, I am Miss Michigan, Emily Sioma. So, of course, Michigan, she's talking about Flint and the crisis that is still there and how its residents do not have clean water to drink. That was a surprising statement. There's no way I expected somebody to say something like that.
Yeah, because usually they're saying something about themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or if it is something that is meaningful, it's not political.
It's very, not very political. It's very kind of like superficially quippy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? From the state with the so-and-so and
right,
so-and-so.
Right. It's fun.
I'm fun and fun. You know what I'm saying? With the state with the brightest so-and-so or the state with the, I don't know, like the best peaches. Something very,
something that pertains to your state. And she did check that box. She did check that box. It pertains to her state.
That was a huge box.
Yeah, man.
A huge box that was, like you said, unexpected.
Exactly. I believe that's the way you use your platform. When you have a platform, when you have a microphone in your face, if you actually want to do some good in the world, if you want to actually draw attention to something, do something like that.
She gonna mess around and have them bring the damn bikini competition back.
We don't want to hear y'all talking.
We don't want to hear y'all talking about that. That's a little too real. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying she should have won just for that reason alone. And no doubt, man. I mean, like that. This is a woman that she wanted to convey something meaningful to whoever was watching. Something that is impacting lives in her state. That's commendable. For me, that's commendable. You don't often see that. So anyway, all right. So let's move on. All right. 26-year-old Botham Jean was fatally shot inside his own apartment on Thursday night in Dallas, Texas, when an officer allegedly mistook his apartment for her own. Officer Amber Gaillard, a 30-year-old white woman, was still wearing her police uniform when she encountered Jean, who was black, and he was inside his own apartment. At this point, it's unclear what the exact interaction was between the two of them, but it's been reported that Officer Gaillard shot Jean, believing him to be an intruder in her home. So again, this occurred on Thursday night, and lawyers for John's family had been calling for Geiger's arrest, claiming that she was receiving preferential treatment because it had been days and she wasn't arrested. So they held a news conference on Sunday night pleading for her arrest, and then it was shortly after that on Sunday night that the news stations were reporting that John had finally been arrested by Texas Rangers. Now, initially, the Dallas Police Department was conducting the investigation, and I believe it was Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall that said she was, or I guess their department was going to go forward and actually arresting her, but then the Texas Rangers took over the investigation.
The Texas Ranger Division said they had some more investigating they wanted to do.
Right.
And some information had come up, so hold off on charging this officer. I'm not sure what else they needed to know, but judging from the affidavit and reading that, it sounded as if they were trying to find something on the victim. Just by reading that, because they wanted to search his premises, search his laptop and stuff. So they were looking for anything, something to kind of, I guess, insert into the narrative surrounding this whole situation.
That could excuse her actions, I guess.
That could excuse her actions. I know if that was one of us or one of you guys watching the show, any civilian, and you went inside someone's apartment mistakenly and shot them, you probably wouldn't have been able to leave the scene.
No.
And they would have taken you in immediately and questioned you right there. They wouldn't have given you 3 days to come up with a explanation or a story. And
more on that, like I said, the Dallas Police Department, they initially had it, that had the investigation, but the Texas Rangers took it over. Dallas County District Attorney Faith Johnson said that it was the Texas Rangers. I guess it was out of her hands who had the lead in the investigation. And the Texas Rangers, she said, took it over to, I guess, project a sense of transparency and to conduct an independent investigation, because Officer Gaillard was an officer within the Dallas Police Department. So, like you said, it was 3 days, and Officer Gaillard was allowed to turn herself in, and she turned herself into a neighboring county, Kaufman County,
when the crime was committed in Dallas.
Dallas County.
Like, strategically, why would she do that?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't matter where she turns herself in. It only matters where the crime is committed. So when this goes to trial, if it goes to trial, the jury will be constructed based on Dallas's demographics, not Kaufman's or Dallas County's demographics.
Right.
I don't know. The initial statement released on behalf of Gaillard by a police officer that was on the scene, to me, like, rubbed me the wrong way, because you can tell from the jump they were trying to, like, describe her as an overworked officer who was just tough on crime and doing her job. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just got off a 14-hour shift. I'm sorry. She was working the special task force and just got off a 14-hour shift serving warrants in a high crime area. That's how the statement started off. So from the jump, they're already presenting Amber Gaillard as somebody who is overworked and somewhat of a hero.
Those details don't matter at all. It doesn't really matter unless whatever you were doing prior to the incident somehow impaired your ability to correctly assess what was going on. Then, like I said, those events don't matter. Now, her blood was taken, And at this point, it is not expected that she was impaired in some way, like she was under the influence of something. It's not expected, but we don't know that to be sure right now, or we don't know that to be certain right now. It's going to be weeks, maybe even a month before the results of those tests are actually processed and, you know, there's a conclusion. But the Dallas mayor, Mike Rawlins, he said on Sunday night that Gaillard had parked on the wrong floor of the building's parking garage. So she lived on the 3rd floor, and Botham Jean lived on the 4th floor, and he lived directly above her. So that's the explanation. Like you went into some of the initial statements. There has been an affidavit that's been released, and outside of the affidavit, which contains her explanation of the circumstance of what actually transpired on this occasion, on this night, there hasn't been many details released. The Dallas County DA Faith Johnson said that, I guess that's purposeful, because she doesn't want this case to be moved. She doesn't want to change the venue, to another county or something like that. So there hasn't been a lot of details released. She said that the Texas Rangers did arrest her on account of manslaughter, but it is very possible that she is charged with murder. It's not off the table right now.
Yeah, because they cannot prove that it was premeditated.
Right.
So that is the charge that fits, according to the way the law is written.
At least right now. Well, they haven't said that they can judge whether it's premeditated.
Yeah, they're
still not releasing those details.
They're not, because they still have a lot of digging to do.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. So really, the bulk of this is what we have to get. What we have to kind of ascertain from the arrest affidavit, and really that tells us everything that we need to know about this, I think. Or I guess I think it tells us enough to actually draw a conclusion, come to a kind of an opinion about what didn't happen. True.
Whether you're talking about the details within the arrest affidavit in general, and kind of, I guess, going through that with a fine-tooth comb, or kind of judging the official arrest affidavit with the original statement made by a Dallas officer, I guess, to NBC5, I guess, some news station NBC affiliate in Dallas. When you check what the arrest affidavit said against the initial statements from that officer who was on the scene, who I guess got his idea of what happened from Amber Gaillard herself, it just seems as if there are too many points of contention when you compare those two things. Now, the account that came from this police officer, and I will paraphrase it for expediency so we can move along. This officer said Gaillard took the elevator to the wrong floor, went to the door she thought was hers, put the key in, and struggled with the lock. Gaillard then put down several things she was holding and continued to fight with the key when the resident swung open the door and startled her. Gaillard, believing Jean was an intruder, shot him. It wasn't until police and rescue units began arriving that she realized she was not at her apartment. This came straight from a police officer, most likely taking the account straight from Gaillard. So what we're going to do is compare that to the arrest affidavit.
All right. So according to the arrest affidavit, Gaillard got off her shift around 10 p.m. and she arrived at her home around the same time. And the home complex is Southside Flats in Dallas, Texas. She parked on the 4th floor in the garage, the wrong floor, of course. Like I said, she lived on the 3rd floor. The affidavit states upon approaching Jean's door, quote, she inserted a unique door key with an electronic chip into the door keyhole. The door, which was slightly ajar prior to Gaillard's arrival, fully opened under the force of the key insertion. Upon the door being opened, Gaillard observed that the apartment interior was nearly completely dark. Now, that last point, I believe that was inserted
Oh,
to
no.
provide her an excuse. The apartment was nearly completely dark. Oh, she didn't know what she was seeing. She couldn't see anything, but she did see somebody. Right?
There's going to be a lot of things that you can tell that they inserted to kind of ram this point home that it was just all a big mistake.
So this is the next part of the affidavit. Believing she had encountered a burglar, which was described as a large silhouette across the room in her apartment, Gaillard drew her firearm, gave verbal commands that were ignored by complainant Jean. As a result, Gaillard fired her handgun 2 times, striking the complainant 1 time in the torso. Gaillard then entered the apartment, immediately called 911, requesting police and EMS, and provided first aid to complainant Jean. Due to the interior darkness of the apartment, Gaillard turned on the interior lights while on the phone with 911. Upon being asked where she was located by emergency dispatchers, Gaillard returned to the front door to observe their address and discovered she was at the wrong apartment.
That is interesting. Kind of when I first read the arrest affidavit, only noticed kind of 2 points in contention. But once I went back and read the statement from this anonymous officer about what I guess the account that he received from Gaillard about what went on that night, I was like everything is different. Everything is different. And the thing about even the thing about what the mayor said about parking on the wrong floor.
Yeah, she parked on the wrong floor.
Well, the officer
said she parked.
The officer said she went up the elevator.
Yeah, that's what the other officer said. She went
other
up the
officer said she went up the elevator.
See, it's normal in this kind of complex, just like Southside Flats, to park on the floor of your apartment.
Every floor that every floor of the parking garage corresponds with every floor of the housing part, the living quarters.
Unless we are to believe that there was no parking available on her floor, which was not stated anywhere.
No, it was not stated. Regardless of what story you believe, no matter, you still have to take each point and question the mental lapses along the way. Right. So we're not even before we even get into how the original story, the original narrative contradicts the last, there's still a lot to question, even if you believe either one of those narratives, because she has to ignore or not be aware of a lot of things along the way. There's a lot of steps, many things.
Right.
What was the thing about the door, the state of the door? The state of the door, the original account,
it was closed.
Originally it was closed.
Right.
And they made it a point to say she struggled with the lock.
According to the arrest affidavit, it was slightly ajar, and
the force
of the key insertion actually swung the door open, or pushed the door open.
And the resident swung the door open and startled her, and that's when she shot him. That's exactly what was I guess divulged to the media the night of that incident. 3 days.
One point that we don't have, I guess one bit of information that we don't have, is where Jean's body was located, where it was found. Because if he actually came to the door and opened it, then his body would have to be near the door,
but
not.
But she's saying that
away.
The arrest affidavit suggests that he was far away, because she says she saw a silhouette.
Yes,
that would contradict the original statement about Jean coming to the door and startling her, and then shots ringing out.
Right.
What was the last part about the affidavit about her having to go outside?
Yes, she was asked where she was. She was asked where her location was. So she returned to the front door to observe the address.
Wait a second. Okay, all right. Now, according to the original statement the officer gave, it says it wasn't until police rescue units began arriving that she realized she was not at her apartment.
That was the original statement.
So check this out. So she shoots Jean, right?
John.
She shoots John. She claims she turns on the light and issued life-saving
techniques.
So as soon as she turns on the light, she would realize she was not at her apartment.
Yes, she would.
So you mean to tell me it wasn't until the police and the EMS arrived that she didn't realize it was her apartment? Wouldn't she realize that wasn't her apartment once she turned on the lights? Them lights wasn't fucking off. That's why.
Well, see, that's why these two, I guess, these two narratives are very different, because in this narrative, through the arrest affidavit, she's saying that as soon as she shot him, she entered the home. So this makes it sound like she didn't even enter the home. The door was pushed open. She saw a silhouette. She drew a gun. The person did not obey her verbal commands, and she shot them. Right after that, she goes into the home, then gets on the phone with 911 to request assistance, police and EMS, starts performing life-saving procedures on the victim, on Jean. But then it was after that, while she was on the phone with 911, that she actually cut on the lights and then went to the door to check the address. My thought process is this makes no sense for for an assortment of reasons. First of all, if you do shoot somebody, right, and this is your home, if that person goes down, you shoot twice, because she shot twice. Now, John had to fall down, right? It's dark. You said you only see a silhouette. You would cut on the lights immediately to see what else is going on. You don't know if there's somebody else in the apartment. You're a police officer, so I know you are trained to be observant. I know you're trained to actually secure the building, secure the area,
clear the room,
clear the
building.
Right. You can't do that when it's dark. So you would immediately turn the lights on. But she didn't do that until she was on the phone with 911, and she was already administering life-saving techniques on Jean. In the dark? Doesn't make in the dark. None of that makes sense. None of that is plausible or possible. No, that doesn't make sense.
And if there wasn't enough light for her to see that it wasn't her apartment, how did she have enough vision to hit the target cleanly?
Well, she had a silhouette figure. She had a silhouette, because you remember in the affidavit said it was nearly completely dark.
See, here's the thing. Let's just say that is true. It's completely dark. I think we've all been in a completely dark house, right? Mm-hmm. But we've all heard and seen somebody cut on the bathroom light way down the hall.
Right.
Nowhere near the room. All of a sudden, you can see your room now. If your door is open,
right,
you can see, even with the light on down the hallway.
Right.
You can see something.
Right.
Now we are to believe that the entire house was pitch black.
The entire house.
Not only that, not only we are to believe that the entire house was pitch black. Now, we saw video of the corridors leading to those apartment units.
Right.
It was heavily lit.
Yes.
So we have to believe that when the door opened, none of the light that was coming from the outside made its way in for her to see that, wait a second, this apartment looks different.
Because the door was open. If there was no lights on inside of the home, cool. Like you said, you're allowed that the house was actually dark. It was 10 p.m. Maybe John took an early, that would be early for me to go to bed. Maybe this was his time to go to bed. Yeah. Maybe it was completely dark in there. But like you said, her opening the door, you saw the video of, like you said, the hallway, the corridor. There's light coming in. So immediately, she's not just seeing a silhouette. She's seeing into the home. She's at least seeing 5 to 10 feet in front of her at the very least. And you can't tell me that 5 to 10 feet in front of her, she's not noticing several things that are different from her apartment.
I think there are certain things she should have noticed that were different way before she even got to the door.
Yes.
Like I said, no matter what narrative that people believe is true, whether it be the initial narrative that was given by a police officer to the news network, or the new narrative, the new narrative, the story that seemed to have changed, when she got a lawyer and her union rep was involved. It's amazing,
was able to construct the story.
It's amazing how people's memories change.
Oh yeah. Something that would leave like a stain on your brain. You know what I'm saying? You would remember those details very vividly.
See, let's iron out each narrative to see that even whether they make sense or not. Let's say it was that she went up the elevator, which she didn't. She would still, let's say that's true, she would have to press the wrong floor.
Yeah.
Not only would she have to press the wrong button, she would have to not notice that it was going to the wrong floor, because most elevators, again, I can't verify this, but I'm pretty sure that's a nice apartment.
It's a nice
building.
apartment complex.
So you know there's a digital readout of what floor she was going to. So let's just say she did use the elevator, which was kind of proven that was false.
Right.
She would have to press the wrong button. She would have had to get to the wrong floor, not notice she was on the wrong floor. Not only that, she would have had to completely ignore the apartment number, which is clearly on each door or inside of the door. And then she would also had to ignore or have a mental lapse and not notice a red mat in front of his door.
Right.
So, like, regardless of what narrative you use, it doesn't make sense. If she parked on the wrong floor, which means she went up an extra floor, right? Mm-hmm. She parked on the wrong floor. You mean to tell me she got out of her car and didn't notice that, wait a second, these cars look different? So she didn't notice that. And I'm pretty sure once you leave the parking garage area, there's most likely something that indicates what floor you're on.
No doubt. And
so
there is in this apartment complex.
Yeah. So number one, she had to park on the wrong floor by mistake. So she missed that. She had a mental lapse there. Mm-hmm. Then getting out of her car, she had another mental lapse, not noticing the vehicles look different. She had a third mental lapse walking from the parking garage to the corridors where the apartments are and not noticing she was on the wrong floor. Mm-hmm. Then she gets to the apartment, doesn't see the number, another mental lapse, and she doesn't see the red mat sitting in front of the door that's not hers. Mm-hmm. That's like a fifth mental lapse right there. There's too many things that she has to ignore. For this situation to take place.
There's something else that, you saw the video from the video that was shot from somebody else. This was after the shooting took place, and obviously this is taken from a lower floor. It looks like the third floor, and it's catching Officer Gaillard walk back and forth. She's on the phone, so that area is open, right? For me, I can't get around the fact that, well, not a fact. I can't get around the idea that this officer now wasn't observant enough to see things at a different eye level. Like, when you're higher up, when you're used to being at a certain eye level, like things are here, like you just get a feeling for like where you are and like where things are. She would have to completely ignore where actual things are, like where actual objects are placed, like what she could actually see from her eyes, like out in the distance. She didn't notice any of that. That's what she's trying to tell us. Like you said, the number in the garage, the number on the door, whatever in her surroundings. When the light hit inside the apartment, didn't notice anything was different. The red mat. She also had a dog that was nowhere to be found. There were too many things that she would have had to completely ignore for this to actually be possible.
This is like watching your favorite television show and it jumps the shark. It's like one of those situations where there's too many ridiculous things that happen within the plot just so they can continue with the show. You're like, okay.
Like a bad movie.
Like a bad movie. Like, wait a second.
You didn't think about that, did you?
There was just too many ridiculous things that had to happen for them to, I guess, continue the show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so they can continue the show. This seems like one of those situations. There's too many things she had to ignore.
So this seems like somebody that's trying to create a narrative, not remember the events as they actually occurred.
Yeah, and there are certain things that are understandable, like certain elements that are understandable, like her parking on the wrong floor.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe she ignored the number in the garage. Maybe she actually went to the wrong door. Maybe. It's possible.
It's possible. Again, but there's too many elements that don't make sense let up to the incident. Like, there's too many things she would have to ignore or have to I guess had to be absent-minded about. That's the problem I have.
And then the door is ajar now. Like you said, this is different from what the officer that was communicating the details at first.
The officer who remained anonymous.
Yes, but now Officer Jean, Officer Gaillard is telling the Texas Rangers that the door was actually ajar. Now, doesn't seem like she knew that at first, because she put her key in and the door went open. Like, there's no word of her actually turning the key or anything like that. She just said from the force of the key insertion, it came open. So Botham Jean, he just left the door open. Like, all the lights were out. You would have to think that he was going to sleep at that point. Like, I mean, if all the lights are out, you would think you would have to think that, okay, it's nighttime. I'm going to sleep.
They're trying.
His door was open.
They're trying to set it up to where she gets off.
I don't. Yeah,
that's why. Because that's
yeah.
the two elements that you can tell, or that you can point to, that kind of indicate that they're trying to do that, is the doors, the state of the door changing. Yeah. It was already open. Yeah. And then the I think the appalling attempt to low key blame Jean.
The complete darkness.
No, John. No, well, not just that, but failure to obey the commands.
Oh yeah,
that's
absurd.
No,
that's absolutely absurd.
And what were the commands?
Yeah, there's no word on.
There's
what
no
the
word on what
are.
the command. It just says failure to obey commands. Like, why not be specific on what those commands are? You're not specific because you don't want to get trapped in a lie.
There's no suggestion that John had a gun or that he rushed Officer Gaillard, and it wouldn't make any sense that he would. Now, obviously, I'm going to be perturbed if somebody breaks into my house and at nighttime, or it doesn't matter what time of the day. I don't care if you're an officer or not. But if I do see it's an officer, my first thought is not going to be to rush them. And like I said, it doesn't seem like John did rush the officer. So what commands did he not follow that enabled Officer Gaillard to shoot him twice?
Because the story goes from immediately didn't comply to commands to shots fired.
It's like you're investigating some crime or something like that.
What happened between those 2 points? What happened between not obeying commands and then shots fired? There's like,
what did he do to justify that?
There's no
action?
statement about what he did during or after those commands. It just goes from he didn't listen to commands to shooting him.
So he's light on details. This is a little bit light on details.
Not transparent. Yeah. This seems very light on details. And as far as, things that people have told me, things lawyers have told me, my lawyer has told me about when police officers and when departments write reports, they are purposefully vague on certain instances. Right. So it prevents them from getting tripped up later. Yeah. So the vagueness
might go to a trial.
Yeah, because if when they know they have somebody dead to rights, and when they're on the right side, they're extremely detailed. Right. They're extremely detailed, like crossing all their T's and dotting all their I's. Here, they're leaving out a lot. Yeah. And before Jean could even comply with the command, wouldn't she identify herself?
Yeah, she would. That's what officers, I believe, are trained to do.
But that was missing from the arrest affidavit. There was no indication that she actually said, "Hey, I'm a police officer." You would think that that would have kind of been included in that report, or she would have just added that to the story since she added all this other stuff. Right. But to me, she was off duty. So guess what? I don't think the privileges of her being a police officer should apply.
No, they shouldn't. The family attorney Lee Merritt, he made some claims this was when he was talking to the press, when he was talking to the media about what happened, and he talked about there being 2 witnesses or 2 neighbors that were around at the time, and they heard something in particular.
The witnesses that we spoke to, and it's been at least 2, and there's been other people that we spoke to directly, and there's been other accounts available on the internet, is that they heard knocking down the hallway, followed by a woman's voice that they believe to be Officer Gaillard saying, "Let me in."
So, hold on, let me move that out. Okay. Of course, these are, at this point, these statements are unconfirmed. We don't, there's no way for us to know what's the truth and what's not at this point. But per Merritt, the attorney of the family, he did speak to some people that said that they heard some knocking, some banging, and some loud, like, "Let me in," a female voice saying, "Let me in, let me in."
That wouldn't make any sense because who would she be talking to? She lived alone.
Yeah.
So if those statements are true, if those witnesses statements are true, man, that throws a whole wrench in the story because she lives alone. So who would she be talking to if she believed that was her apartment?
That would suggest some type of relationship. And I'm not talking about some like sexual relationship or anything like that. I'm talking about just a relationship where the two of them know each other. We don't know what type of relationship it is, but if that actually happened where she was actually banging on the door saying, "Let me in," that would indicate that she actually knows who was inside that apartment. So like I said, we don't know everything at this point. It's impossible to do so, and a lot of details are not going to come out probably until this whole thing is actually settled.
Because isn't it going to the grand jury?
It's going to the grand jury, but not immediately. There's no timetable for when Dallas County DA Faith Johnson is going to present to the DA, and then even after that, I don't believe that she's gonna want to let the details out because again, she's claiming that she's fearful that this might be a situation where there's a change of venue and it won't be in Dallas County anymore. So I don't think we're going to actually have some firm details for a long while. Lee Merritt, again, he doesn't believe the account of this officer Gaillard. He said, and this is a statement from him, he said, "Not only at the front of his door, the red rug outside, but all around his apartment. This is his apartment. This wasn't her apartment. There wouldn't be the same smell. There wouldn't be the same furniture. There wouldn't be the same lighting patterns. There would have been a number of identifying markers to alert her, including the absence of her dog, which she owns." So like I said, there were just too many things that either she ignored or did not, just purposely didn't pay attention to. Or, I mean, there's some other narrative that has to be true because none of this makes sense. There's no way that anybody reasonable could actually take the words that were in this arrest affidavit and say, yeah, we think she's telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I think the only thing that is appropriate is for Officer Amber Gaillard to be charged with murder. I don't believe the count of manslaughter is appropriate. I don't believe this was just a situation that she stumbled upon. If she did stumble upon it, I believe at that moment in time, she had a choice whether to commit the murder or not. You understand?
Yeah, so it really doesn't even matter. And either way you look at it, like, well, you can't look at it any other way other than her being mentally incompetent.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't under the influence of anything, according to reports.
Doesn't seem to be. We don't know that to be sure yet, or certain yet, but
under
it doesn't
the
seem to be.
influence of, I guess, sleep deprivation, which is kind of what they are trying to introduce by saying she worked a 14-hour shift. But it's switched between 14 and 15 hours. It's kind of flip-flop, so we really don't know whether it was 14 or 15. I don't think lack of sleep makes you mentally incompetent. I think it does make you tired, but most apartment complexes and apartment buildings, units look alike.
They do.
That's not special to this one building. Most buildings, most apartment complexes or most apartment buildings, and each door looks the same.
But personal belongings don't look the same. So it's the actions of her before this actually occurred and the actions afterwards. Like we said about the whole lighting situation, you turn the light on after you're already on the phone with 911 and after you're already administering CPR. You don't know if anybody else is in there. You're a police officer. You're telling me you're not concerned that there might be somebody else in there? You're just sitting there in the dark? Nope, doesn't hold water. There's some pictures that have been I guess distributed among social media as well, and it has shown her and her family, her and her mother and her sister. There's one picture where I believe her mother is wearing an All Lives Matter shirt, which it does tell you something.
It kind of establishes a profile.
Yeah, it does.
And I do think it's convenient that they were given an opportunity to shut down their social media, her and members of her family.
Yeah, her sister.
That that would have probably created a little, I guess, a sub story.
Right. This was another picture that was making the rounds, and she's in the yellow shirt. Her sister is in the blue shorts. The guy in the gray shirt that is throwing up hand signals. He's gesturing with his hands. There's been a lot of talk about this, and a lot of people are speculating that he's throwing up a W and a P, and that means white power, and that it's something that has been done before. I have no idea if that is what he is doing, but I will say that I can't think of any other reasoning for him to be throwing up those certain hand signals.
Could stand for wonderful police.
It like I said, I'm not gonna make a determination, but I would, like I said,
water polo.
Is he on the team?
Oh, he's probably on the team, all right.
So anyway, like I said, it's sad that this 26-year-old individual's life was cut tragically short. He hails from the Caribbean island, St. Lucia. Looked like he was a productive member of society, doing the right things, and like I said, his life was cut short. And what I just hope happens now is that there will be some justice. That this individual, who happens to be an officer, that she is actually charged with a crime. Be it, I think the appropriate charge is murder, but what have you. I hope that she is charged. I hope that a jury of her peers finds her guilty, and I hope that she is sentenced to an appropriate sentence.
Yeah, like not the minimum slap on the wrist type sentence.
Nah.
I see Cruz. I think that picture has been debunked. The picture with Jean standing with 3 women.
Yeah, it has,
that is the only picture that has been circulating. I've heard there were more, but I haven't seen it.
Right.
But that none of the women that are standing with Jean in that picture are Officer Amber Geiger. So right. No, I mean, I'm not saying that it's out of the question that they knew each other, because the family says, they didn't know each other, but your family don't know everything about you. I'm not saying it completely eliminates that possibility, but that picture doesn't prove it, because that's not her. So
all right, so let's move on to the next story. 24-year-old O'Shea Terry was pulled over for an expired registration on September 1st in Arlington, Texas, and it led to an officer fatally shooting him. The Arlington Police Department has released video footage from an officer's body cam that reveals the circumstances of Terry's death, and we're going to play that video for you now.
Okay, what are you upset about? It's hot. It's hot? Well, I'm staying outside here. Like I say, if you don't have any more inside the vehicle, y'all should be worried about it. We just have to do what we have to do. So that's basically it. Hey! Hey, stop!
I ain't gonna go there.
Sir.
I ain't going
Hey! Stop, bro! Stop! Stop the car, man! Stop the car!
Or other vehicles have gone through the car wash.
All right, so again, the reason for this traffic stop was an expired registration tag, and the first officer on the scene was a female officer. The second officer was the officer that actually fatally shot Terry. Before the video footage was released, news reports detailed that the officer involved with the shooting had his arm stuck in the window of the SUV when Terry rolled up the window. So when the car pulled off, the officer had to make a split-second decision and had no choice but to fire because his life was in jeopardy. That is not what appeared to happen on this video whatsoever. Now, what appeared to happen is that this officer, who remains nameless at this time, all we know is that the primary officer, which was the female officer, is a 5-year veteran, and the officer that actually shot O'Shea Terry is an 8-year veteran. But what we saw in the video is that he made the decision to ride on the vehicle. He made a decision to actually hop on the passenger door. His arm was in the vehicle through the window, but it doesn't look like the window was actually ever to a point where his arm could get stuck in it.
There was a huge gap.
There was a huge
gap between the top of the window and then the top of the door.
Yes. So at the time, Lieutenant Chris Cook said his left hand and arm was inside the vehicle as it's being rolled up. Now, there had been some speculation or I guess some accusation that the police were saying that the officer's hand was actually stuck inside the vehicle, and that's why he had to make some kind of decision.
Wait.
I don't believe the police said that. Like I said, Lieutenant Chris Cook, he didn't say that. He just said the left hand was inside the vehicle. But for me, that doesn't make any difference. Like, I don't care if it's like actually it makes it even worse, because if he would have had to make the choice to actually climb onto the top of the car door and try to stop this vehicle from getting away from a traffic stop. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that's an officer's job to put their limbs, their body in the way of a vehicle to prevent it from leaving the scene of a traffic stop.
Not when they have a vehicle also. You know what I'm saying? Like, either way, even if he didn't have a vehicle, that is not a logical way to try to, I guess, remedy the situation. No. Even if this person is in the wrong driving away, we have to like really look at what he's driving away for.
Right.
It's a traffic violation. It's expired tags?
That's what
registration. Expired tags and registration.
Yes.
That's a traffic violation. A lot of people don't want to face the consequences of that. They're going to lose a bit of freedom. So I can understand. Get scared, run off, whatever it is. This is not somebody who they know to be violent, not somebody who just committed a violent crime. And so the expediency to catch this person is probably not a high priority, or to kind of immediately diffuse the situation with bullets.
So, okay, so more information about this is, I guess, what was transpiring before the actual video that you just saw. So again, he was stopped because of the expired registration tag. But when the officers were there questioning him, the officer that was on the scene, I'm not sure if the first officer did too, but the officer that actually shot him said he smelled marijuana in the car. So they were going to perform a search of the vehicle, and O'Shea Terry did not want that search to be conducted because he knew what was inside the vehicle. So after the fact, of course, they found over a pound of marijuana. They found 7 grams of ecstasy pills, and they did find a .40 caliber Glock handgun in the car as well. Now, none of this was in the front seat. It wasn't like O'Shea Terry or the passenger had the firearm in their hands. The cop's life was actually not in jeopardy until he made the decision to ride along with the vehicle.
So he put his
on the door of the vehicle.
He put his own life in jeopardy.
He put his own life, and like I said, officers are not tasked with doing things like that.
And kind of distorted the sequence of events as well to make it look like he had only one choice, and that was to shoot the driver.
Yes.
And my thing is, if anyone feels justified in their actions, regardless if they're a cop or not, you don't distort the narrative. You don't distort the story. There's no need to, because you are justified. You are righteous in what you did. So why the need to distort what happened? The only answer is because you know you weren't justified and you went about it completely in the wrong way.
We've talked about this before in other cases where officers put themselves
in a
position to where what is the only option to use deadly force. And that's exactly what this officer did. He didn't have to take a ride.
What else kind of could have been the consequence of his actions? By shooting the driver?
He could have shot the passenger too.
Could have shot the passenger, and you're kind of sending a 2.5 ton SUV careening in a direction that's not in your control. Yeah. And it's during the daytime. There could be other passengers, passerbys in vehicles, pedestrians walking. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of other factors that he definitely should have considered. He just wanted to be what we refer to as Officer Super Trooper.
Yep, exactly.
And just kind of, here he comes to save the day mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then rather than actually perform his job responsibilities, he's going to say, nope, you know what? I'm not going to chase after this vehicle. I'm just going to stop them dead in its tracks. I'm going to kill the driver right here. I don't want to perform some chase. I don't want to go after this vehicle. And so we've seen that before. We've seen this all too commonly. We saw that. It was right here in South Carolina. I believe it was upstate. I think it was Seneca, South Carolina, in the case of Zachary Hammond. Yeah. This was a young kid. I believe he was 17 years old. 17 years old. And there was some surveillance being done on his vehicle. It was like some drug buy. And he walked up on the vehicle. Zachary Hammond tried to get away. He never put the cop's life in jeopardy. The cop was actually at the side of the vehicle, and he shot into the passenger window, killing him. And he lied about it too, but he never got charged with it. He never got charged with the crime. This particular situation right here, this is why I hate drug laws. This is why I can't stand that drugs are illegal in the United States of America, because it makes people fearful and do foolish things. We're not going to sit here and say that O'Shea Terry made the correct decision and took off in the vehicle. No, that was the wrong decision. But it shouldn't have cost him his life, though. Yeah. It shouldn't have cost him his life. Mm-hmm. And because of these drug laws, because cops routinely go after black and brown people disproportionately because of these drug laws and fill up the jail cells, of course, there's going to be some segment of our population that are in fear of getting taken back to jail or going to jail in the first place. It's just insanity, and I hate that these drugs like marijuana, even cocaine, legalize them all. That is my perspective on the situation, because if you criminalize them, you have situations like this. You have people that are in fear for their livelihood. They feel like their freedom is going to be taken away, and they're going to make stupid decisions, and it's going to cost them their life because officers don't want to actually do their job. They just want to stop them and kill them.
So you're saying that like maybe these drug laws are just kind of an excuse, or they serve as some sort of precursor to exercise, let's say, searches. You know what I'm saying? And extend circumstances beyond their threat level. Give officers an excuse to exercise a search.
Yeah. I remember it. Not, you know what? I can't remember the details of this case too, but it was a similar situation. The driver got stopped, and he actually did end up firing at the cop, and he got shot. He got shot in his head. He got shot dead. And I understand that. I mean, there was nothing inappropriate that the officer did in that specific situation, but the whole reasoning why this particular individual took off in the vehicle and he ended up crashing his car and getting out and trying to shoot the officer, the whole reason why he did that, he sent a text message to his mother saying, you know, like, I think this is it. I'm not going back to jail. Mm-hmm. The whole reason was because he knew he had drugs in the car. That's what I'm talking about. Like, so you're ending lives because of drug laws.
So essentially, they're creating these circumstances. The laws that our system creates ends up, I guess, promoting situations like that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Sad, man. This is why people are kneeling, though. This is the exact reason why people are kneeling and why it's not going away.
The last two stories we covered.
Exact reason.
But we don't have a problem, and people are still like harping on the fucking flag and shit.
All right, let's move on. All right, where you want to go?
I mean,
Let's
we can
switch
go
it up.
Oh, we gonna switch it up?
Yeah, you want to? Let's go to Barack Obama.
Okay. Oh, that's a subject everybody's gonna love.
Yeah, Barack Obama. Okay, so where do I have that at here? Okay, here we go. All right, so former President Barack Obama made a speech at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign on Friday, and specifically called out Donald Trump several times. So this was, I guess, officially former President Barack Obama's return to politics, because he noted in the speech that he had been keeping away because of a precedent that had been set long before him. The precedent that is outgoing presidents let the incoming president serve. They let their administrations do whatever they have to do. The old president, the outgoing president, gracefully exits the scene, and he doesn't really interrupt, politics per se. But what former President Barack Obama stated was that times are significant right now, and so he's going to get involved because there's something that needs to be done. And the overarching message is that he wants people to vote. There are certain things that people have been calling for, and he needs young people especially to get out there and vote. That's the best way to protest. That's what he said. So we have some clips that we want to show you, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
It should not be a partisan issue to say that we do not pressure the Attorney General or the FBI to use the criminal justice system as a cudgel to punish our political opponents. Or to explicitly call on the Attorney General to protect members of our own party from prosecution because an election happens to be coming up. I'm not making that up. That's not hypothetical. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say things or publish stories we don't like. I complained plenty about Fox News, but you never heard me threaten to shut them down or call them enemies of the people. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say we don't target certain groups of people based on what they look like or how they pray. We are Americans. We're supposed to stand up to bullies, not follow them. We're supposed to stand up to discrimination. And we're sure as heck supposed to stand up clearly and unequivocally to Nazi sympathizers. How hard can that be, saying that Nazis are bad? Part of the reason women are more vulnerable in the workplace is because not enough women are bosses in the workplace. Which is why we need to strengthen and enforce laws that protect women in the workplace, not just from harassment, but from discrimination in hiring and promotion, and not getting paid the same amount for doing the same work. That requires laws. Laws get passed by legislators. You've got to vote.
So, like I said, the overarching message that he continuously repeated was, you got to vote. Like, you want certain things in our country. You have a certain type of ideology. You want Congress to pass certain types of legislation. You got to vote.
It's not about Democrat or Republican.
Exactly. It's because it's not. And, of course, we say that a lot of times, too. Like, a lot of these issues that we have spoken in support of, it shouldn't really be political. It's just about being a human being at that point. But a lot of this is made, a lot of this is turned into a political nature. Like, you're on the left side, you're on the right side. You have to follow that type of, I guess, political talking point. This is the reason, though, why so many people, or this is a big part of the reason why so many people do like Barack Obama and miss him as a president of the United States. He is a great orator. he has a way of communicating things that will draw your support. It's like if you hear his words, you're encouraged to like him,
because he was just speaking in basic political truism.
Right.
So if you're just talking about politics within the vacuum of, well, I guess the current time we're living in, there was really nothing about what he said right there that I could disagree with. How I feel about him in general aside, to me it was just some basic political truisms that you can't deny simply because they are coming from Barack Obama. Now, if we want to talk about him in a comprehensive way, then we can have another conversation, because essentially what he was saying to Trump was kind of like duh to me, and it was true.
That's the same thing that we have.
That's the same thing we've been talking about. So it's really nothing extraordinary. So if we're just talking about what he said in a vacuum, there's nothing with it. If we want to expand the conversation and talk about how we feel about Barack Obama as a president, that is a different subject. We can have that conversation, but if we're just responding to the things he said right there, I don't really see anything wrong with him.
Right. Like you said, it doesn't matter if it comes from his mouth or somebody else's, somebody that we actually do support. If you're saying the right things, then we will agree with you. If Sarah Palin was saying the right things, I'd say, well, damn it, she said the right damn thing. I've highlighted some things that Megyn Kelly has stated. Or
even your white supremacist from Fox, fucker, Carson.
Right. Sometimes they get it right. It doesn't mean that you support their, I guess, all of their character, it's not like everything that they stand for.
We support his presidency.
Right.
Nah, we kind of are disappointed in Barack Obama.
Oh, no doubt. And see, I got another quote for you. So at another point, he said, quote, Democrats aren't just running on good old ideas like raising the minimum wage. They're running on good new ideas like Medicare for all. Now, first of all,
whoa. What'd you say? Good what?
Good new ideas.
Good new ideas.
Like Medicare for all. First of all, Medicare for all ain't a new idea. It was something that, I mean, it may not, you may not have referred to it as Medicare for all, but damn it, I believe that's what you were trying to get done when you were campaigning in 2008 to become the next president.
And then he caved.
Even though he had a super majority in Congress.
You know what? I don't care how long he had it. I don't think he had it for the first full 2 years. He had it for 8 months, 6.5 months or something like that. But still, that was enough time.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, I do think it's kind of ironic that he is labeling it as something that's new, maybe because it makes it look like it's something that, he didn't push for because, I didn't know it was around.
Oh, snap.
See, I didn't know it was around.
I'm evolving too.
I'm evolving after I leave the presidency. I'm evolving after I leave the presidency.
But see, just like you said, that's why this is disappointing, because I know a lot of us that actually voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and even in 2012. I know a lot of us actually believed in him, believed that he was going to be something different.
At least incrementally.
At least incrementally, right? At least substantively. Substantively, do something that actually changed the game. You know what I'm saying?
To me, it just seems as if he is trying to come in as a white knight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Save the not Republican Party, but save the Democratic Party from itself. You see what I'm saying? And just kind of ride on the coattails of I guess an agenda that he didn't push himself and that typical establishment Democrats are not pushing. And so I think he's just trying to jump on the bandwagon. So it looks as if this kind of whole push for Medicare for all was just comprehensive Democratic agenda when it was not. And of course, Barack Obama is the perfect person to do that because he's charismatic and likable.
No doubt.
I guarantee you Hillary Clinton wouldn't be able to jump in there and do that.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? It would just make...
She would be instantly called...
I think in some regard, they both look like fools. They both look foolish,
but to a lesser degree, I guess. Obama, he can, like you said, he can say that and get away with it.
Yeah, he can say it and get away with it because
he wasn't running for president in 2016.
He wasn't running for president in 2016, and unlike Hillary Clinton, he wasn't talking about unicorns and ponies.
Right.
He kind of didn't talk down to people. So again, it's like he kind of left the little crack for himself.
Right.
He
And
left
he
a
never,
little-
he never shitted on Medicare for All too, like Hillary Clinton did.
Ah,
You remember
yeah.
that clip talking about we can't have this theoretical debate about some whatever that will never come to
a
pass.
contentious debate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be contentious.
He doesn't have
she
that
loved
clip.
using that word.
Yeah, he doesn't have that highlight, roll footage. So, like I said, he can get away with it. Like I said, he's a great orator. Things that he said, I said orator. Things that he said, of course, were true. But yeah, it doesn't change our opinion of who he is. Doesn't change our opinion of his presidency, his whole whole 8 years.
Yeah, to me, he just kind of sat in the cockpit of, I guess, this imperial power known as the United States. That's really all he did.
Yeah.
He just sat in the cockpit and just put it on cruise control. That's really all he did. He didn't change the direction of it, because that's all he did. He just kind of let the United States plane fly as it was designed to fly without rocking the boat.
Cruise control, man.
Cruise control.
Doesn't matter who's in the chair. Cruise control. All right. Where do you want to go? Let's do the lawsuit by the tribes.
Oh, word.
2 Native American tribes, Fort Belknap and Rosebud Sioux, have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration regarding the approval of the Keystone XL pipeline. There's been much debate about the Keystone XL pipeline. If you can remember, former President Barack Obama blocked its construction back in 2012 and then again in 2015, and this was due to heavy backlash and protests from Native American and environmental groups. But when Donald Trump took office in 2017, he quickly approved the pipeline to be constructed. I believe it was in March, so it was just about a month later, maybe 2 months later, that he came to the decision to approve the project. The pipeline carries tar sand oils from Alberta, Canada, towards the Gulf Coast. Now, tar sand oil is the dirtiest fossil fuel on the planet, and it would cross through lands owned by Native Americans. So, of course, you could understand that Native Americans are not thrilled with the prospect of a pipeline going across their sacred lands. Because what do we know that pipelines do? They burst, they leak. There's often times that there has to be a cleanup. So what these Native American groups do not want is for that to happen. So the Native American tribes are claiming the pipeline was approved without considering the harmful impact it could have. The tribes are asking a court to rescind the permit, arguing that the president ignored their human rights and specific protections for tribes when he approved the project last year. According to the filing in the district court for the District of Montana, it says, quote, all historical, cultural, and spiritual places and sites of significance in the path of the pipeline are at risk of destruction. So, again, this is the issue that we have addressed, time and time again. We've talked about the Dakota Access Pipeline. We've talked about the Keystone XL Pipeline. We also talked about the Sunoco pipeline. That was just back in January of this year. And you remember that pipeline was ordered to halt construction because of numerous environmental violations, including spills and contamination. Actually, no, it was built by Sunoco Pipeline. The actual pipeline was called the Mariner East 2 pipeline. And so Sunoco is a subsidiary of Energy Transfer Partners, which is the company that was building the Dakota Access Pipeline as well. So like I said, pipelines always burst. We don't know when they're going to happen. We don't know how much oil is going to seep out, but they occur. So the problem is that it seems to be that this administration does not care that it's actually going through Native American lands, and they don't care that it might be harmful to their lands and to their environment, and to, not just their environment, all of our environment, really.
You really surprised though? I mean, because what's the legacy of the United States and how it views not just tribal lands or native lands, but how it views, I guess, making profits. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think we have a very long legacy of kind of moving people aside in order to use land and for the benefit of corporations. I think this country has a foundation of going in that direction. So to me, even though I'm, outraged a bit, even though I'm continuously frustrated, when reading things like this, I'm not surprised because this is just kind of the path that this country has always been on. This is kind of what we were founded upon.
What you brought up, how this country has historically treated Native Americans, is, I guess that's the first thought that comes to my head, because I hope that they are successful. I seriously hope that they are successful, because I don't believe we need new pipelines. We need to adjust our mentality, and we need to actually address climate change. We need to address the environment. We need to address the fact that we need to go in the direction of renewable energy, green technology. That's what we need to go in.
So
that's the direction.
So you're saying like a continuous building of pipelines and infrastructure that actually promote this current use of energy actually is taking us away from maybe not just exploring, but constructing a system that caters to renewable resources and renewable energy.
No doubt. So like I said, I hope that they are successful and they can get this project shut down, this pipeline shut down. But like you said, historically, Native Americans have been undervalued in this country.
And
so what's the likelihood that they're actually going to come away as a winner in this lawsuit?
I guess when you're looking at the track record of the United States, then I think we have our answer. The little people always lose.
That's right.
Profits over people, remember?
That's right. Little people and certain types of people too, because I can't help but note that the Dakota Access Pipeline,
I was waiting on you to bring that up,
in North Dakota, see what had happened was that it was supposed to go through Bismarck, I believe.
Yeah, you sounded, your voice went up like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I think it was Bismarck, which is just ridiculously white. I mean, like crazy white. So white that I felt uncomfortable. But the pipeline was supposed to go through that direction, but the people of Bismarck felt like, nope, we don't want this to happen. They
just essentially sent a letter to somebody.
Didn't make that much of a
They
fuss.
didn't even have to make that much of a fun. They just wrote like a little letter to somebody, and it was like, okay, done. They didn't have to get out and protest. They didn't have to put their lives on the line so that their livelihoods won't be affected. So they didn't have to do any of that stuff.
They weren't subjected to water cannons and rubber bullets. None of that. Arrest. No. They just had to say that we don't agree, move it somewhere else, and
it's harmful. It's harmful to our environment. This particular, area is harmful to us.
Right.
But somehow not harmful to other people.
Right. Their needs
or
are
potentially harmful. To be correct, potentially harmful.
So anyway, right now though, the project has already been delayed. A judge, I believe it was last month, ordered an environmental review of the project. So it's already been delayed. We just hope, like I said, I'm definitely in support of this motion, of this filing, of this lawsuit. I'm just not holding my breath. I'm just not holding my breath, but hope that it's successful though. I definitely hope that it's successful. All right. Let's go to the other lawsuit, the Texas burial law.
Oh yeah. True that. We're supposed to do that.
Yeah. So last week on Wednesday, a federal judge in Texas blocked a law that would have required the burial or cremation of fetal remains. The U.S. District Court Judge David Ezra issued a permanent injunction and said that the law imposed, quote, significant burdens on women seeking an abortion or experiencing pregnancy loss. The law was enacted in July 2017, and it sought to change the process established in 1986 that allows healthcare facilities to dispose of fetal and embryonic remains in sewer systems or landfills. So, of course, this was a Republican agenda. This was an agenda that no doubt was thought of to curb abortions. NPR. This is from NPR. The lawsuit was filed on behalf of Whole Woman's Health and other Texas abortion providers, whose lawyers argued the burial and cremation requirements were a politically motivated attempt by the state to force abortion providers into closing because only a limited number of vendors would be willing or able to meet the onerous disposal requirements. What do you think?
I think I don't know. To me, I'm always amazed at the effort and fervor at which conservatives take as far as treating unborn babies with dignity while simultaneously shitting on everyone else's life, shitting on the public every day. You know what I'm saying? It just seems a bit misguided. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the AG said he was going to fight this lawsuit. Yes,
he did. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said that they would appeal the ruling.
Did he release a statement?
I didn't see the statement, or at least I didn't take it down. But they did. He did confirm that they would.
It basically said he wants the dignified treatment of fetuses. Yes. The fetal remains. Sorry, he wants the fetal remains to be treated with dignity.
Yes. So we're not even talking about living beings at this point. We're not talking about a baby being born. We're not talking about babies that are born. We're talking about fetal remains that he wants treated with dignity. But like you said, the conservative agenda really doesn't seem to try to treat people that are already here with dignity. It just
seems like a very, an effortless moral stance to take. A pious moral stance to just kind of superficially show that you have virtue. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to make themselves feel virtuous, because it's really effortless. It's nothing that they have to do to, I guess, change their worldview or change themselves, or maybe change their policies to actually respect human life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It just seems as if it's like a purposeful, wedge issue to deflect to for the purpose of ignoring and applying the same virtue in the other areas of life that we see, that we point to every day.
The judge, Ezra, he said the challenged laws would likely trigger a shutdown of women's healthcare providers unable to cobble together a patchwork of funeral homes, crematoriums, and cemeteries to meet their disposal needs. Clinic closures would further constrain access to abortion in a state where access to abortion has already been dramatically curtailed.
Most of these conservatives, they support war, right?
Yes.
What about, do most of them have anything to say about law enforcement abuse?
No.
That affects the living, right?
These are easy questions. No.
What about their notions about people with pre-existing conditions?
They could care less.
Okay. Pollution and climate change?
It doesn't exist.
Immigrants, minorities, LGBTQ? Do they care about those lives?
Not much.
But they expect a pat on the back from God because they want to treat unborn fetuses with dignity? That's interesting.
And for what purpose again? You'd have to be blind not to see that this was, again, an effort to curb abortions. So I'm not going to give them a pat on the back. And I'm glad they got shut down. Conservatives always are trying to do this. We've talked about the heartbeat bill. that routinely get shut down. I believe the last attempt was in Kansas, I believe.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So they always do the thing, and like you said, it's like some moral grandstanding, and it's it's not. It doesn't fall in line with all the other things that you were talking about. All the other people that need your tender loving care.
Where'd that come from?
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying that you need to be a humanitarian towards a lot more people.
Thought you about to break out now, like a Ralph Tresvant.
Sensitivity. Nah, I'm not going there. Not going there. But like I said, why? Like if you want to be so moral and just and ethical as it relates to fetal remains, then why don't you take a similar stance when you're talking about people that are here, that got 2 feet on the ground?
Because it's just moral grandstanding. They don't have to really do anything but like piously kind of issue their, I guess, virtuous declarations to everybody else to show that they're moral, they're upstanding citizens, and righteous. But I didn't think about this when I first read the story. But who is going to pay for these required burials?
Of course, that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Who is going to pay for those?
Because burials aren't cheap. They aren't cheap. No matter what type of burial, they're not cheap. So the cost of abortion would go up significantly. That cost would definitely be applied to whoever is, undergoing an abortion. Or
since the government is requiring it, I think they'd be okay with paying for it. No, I'm actually serious, because see, when it comes to their agenda, they're okay with government spending. I can actually see them being okay with spending money to do this to make themselves feel better.
Yeah, let's see a bit. See, so Republicans in Congress are always trying to defund Planned Parenthood, right? Across the country, they want Planned Parenthood defunded. They don't want any federal money going towards Planned Parenthood, even though federal dollars do not fund abortions. So what you're saying is that it's possible that conservatives will be like, well, you know what? We'll pull our efforts to defund Planned Parenthood. We'll actually give Planned Parenthood. See, I can't. No way. Sorry.
and see, that's where the snag hits. That's where the snag hits. Right. You know what's so funny? I don't even think they were thinking about the cost. They were just worried about issuing their, religious declarations. You know what I'm saying? And just to make themselves seem like, so virtuous and upstanding in the eyes of God. You know what I mean?
They got shut down, so that's what matters. There will be an appeal, but hopefully that will be shut down as well. All right, let's go to Burgess Owens, man. Go to Burgess. Owens, man.
One thing I think people shouldn't do. I don't care about how people name their children. But the first name to be Burgess,
it's like 2 last names.
I know. It's like, I think if I had a son, my son would probably be like, dog, why'd you name me that?
And I don't know if he has a middle name, but his initials are B.O.
So you just pretty much submitted him to the world for like continuous, ribbing, a lifetime of, jokes.
Yeah. I don't know if he has B.O., but what's coming out of his mouth is damn sure funky. Damn sure funky. So Burgess Owens is a former NFL player, and he's a current conservative guest contributor on Fox News. And he is not supportive of players kneeling for the national anthem. Recently, he appeared on Fox News to contribute to a program. He was on with Fox News' Stuart Varney. And I guess he appeared to convey that he was disgusted with the whole idea that Colin Kaepernick appeared in the 30th anniversary campaign of Nike's Just Do It. And he made a very odd comparison. So we're going to play this video for you, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. soon as I can find this thing. There it is. I can't.
Two Miami Dolphins players who did take a knee during the national anthem in the first game of the season. Do you think we're going to see, looks like we're going to see more of this for the rest of the season. There's no policy in place. So this is going to keep going, isn't it?
Here we are in the third season, and the NFL has not figured it out yet. And we've talked about this before. Of course, the players are doing what they believe is the correct thing to do. It's up to the ownership to set parameters, make sure these players know what is right and what's wrong. We now just have Nike, for instance, just joining this fray. And as we see a little bit less probably of the kneeling, we're going to still see the narrative by Nike. And that is a Marxist who's going to be the face and commercial in NFL games from this point moving on. We have to look at the bigger picture and understand, America, that we're under assault. It's like 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. We're being assaulted by the left. And we need to understand who they are. They're globalists, and they're leftist globalists. The worst thing that could happen to our country is to let them get away with it, not understand what their long game is. It's not America, it's not patriotism, it's profit and politics for them.
Again, that's Burgess Owens, a former NFL player, current conservative voice on Fox News, guest contributor. I do want to point out that he was a member of the New York Jets for some years. I don't claim him. Of course, I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Jets fan. I don't claim him whatsoever. He can go to hell, straight up. What do you think about his comments, man?
Well, there are two main things that I've noticed and observed as far as reactions go in regard to anything connected to Colin Kaepernick and Nike. Is that people's feelings about a piece of cloth are more important to them than actual lives. And apparently feelings actually hurt and is equal to assault. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the same.
It's like a tangible kind of pain.
It's like their feelings is like, it's actually like no different than an assault. It just seems like they're confusing being assaulted with just being salty.
Yeah. There's a few points, of course, the first point is he said it's up to the owners to set parameters and to instill into the players what's right. Boy, what makes him believe that the owners know what's right? Just because they're owners?
Just
like they might have might have a difference of opinion.
Owners, that makes it sound.
But the owners have to instill into the players what's right.
Damn, that sounds like something else.
That
doesn't sound like just like a boss and an employee relationship.
No.
That sounds.
This isn't about how to do your job. This is about like some moral high ground.
Not just a moral high ground. Just like how he's approaching it, it just sounds as if like these players are like slaves or something.
It does seem like that. That's what it sounds like. The owners
know
what's right. You players, fall in line, get in line. You don't know what you're talking about here because you're players.
But even if that was the case, that still doesn't address the major issue surrounding kneeling. He can actually disagree with how the owners have approached this. Hey, make these players kneel. The larger, I guess, issue I have with him and other people is their reasoning behind why they think players should be forced to kneel.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So even beside that statement about the owners, I guess, being unconditionally right, there's still an issue with the way he even views the players kneeling. You know what I'm saying?
Because the reasoning behind that request is based on a distortion. That's why you have a problem with the reasoning behind him. Yeah, you need to make these players do the right thing. It's based on you lying about what the players are actually doing in comparison to what you are framing them to do.
Dog, but did you see how he just went off?
Oh, he went off the rails.
He went off the rails.
Went off the rails.
I thought it was going to end with him like comparing a Nike ad to an event that featured violent death 9/11 in Pearl Harbor, dog?
Bro, it's like 9/11 in Pearl Harbor. We're being assaulted by the left. Hold on.
Go ahead.
We? Hold on. He said we are being assaulted by the left. First of all, the players who are kneeling for the national anthem, they have not said we are Democrats and we are strong.
Yeah, like who? Like again, like
they haven't said that.
Like they've all, or most of the players that have been participating in kneeling during the national anthem have made it clear why they're doing that. At no point have they mentioned their political affiliation.
No.
At no point has any representative like actually instructed any of these players, especially Colin Kaepernick. Actually, if anyone instructed anyone, it was the Green Beret who instructed Colin Kaepernick on kneeling.
Right, Nate Boyer.
So if the kneeling comes from anywhere or anyone, or is sourced from a group or a person, it would be from a former Green Beret. Last time I checked, Colin Kaepernick nor any of the players that are continuing his protest or a Nike ad have actually hurt anyone.
No, I don't think they've inflicted any harm, any
like literal
physical harm on anybody. No,
like he's like suggesting that like Nike is equivalent to terrorists, or a foreign military attack.
Right.
That's he's saying that he's suggesting that that's like Nike is the equivalent of that.
The false equivalency is that emotions being hurt are the same as thousands of lives being actually wiped off the face of the planet.
Pearl Harbor. Innocent people died in that event, right?
Yep.
Okay. 9/11.
Yep. Innocent people.
Innocent people died.
Thousands, man.
Thousands of people. Innocent people.
Yep. No doubt he took that because this happened on Monday. The day before 9/11.
Exactly.
No doubt, you know, that kind of swayed this kind of narrative.
So he's kind of like politicizing 9/11?
Oh, yes, heavily.
But if anything, the reason I mentioned that innocent people died in both of those events, wouldn't it make more sense to draw an analogy between abusive law enforcement and terrorists and or a foreign military, I guess, a sucker punch?
You mean like lives being
taken innocently, because that's what innocent lives taken. And innocent lives taken over here. Wouldn't the analogy be more apt? Wouldn't that analogy be more apt than comparing Nike and Colin Kaepernick to, I guess, the terrorists in 9/11 and the sucker punch the Japanese military issued against the United States in Pearl Harbor? You see what I'm saying? Like, so if there's going to be an analogy here, the more proper analogy would be to compare innocent lives being lost here, innocent being lives lost over there.
I just think it's remarkable that he's framing it as that he is being attacked when this has nothing to do with you. This has to do with exactly what the players are talking about. The players are talking about how this whole kneeling business started because of police brutality and the unjust killings and police officers. The only punishment that they're getting are receiving. They're being put on administrative leave. They're not actually being charged. They're not being found guilty. So that's what this whole movement, if you want, if you will, that's what this movement is about. So how does this relate to Burgess Owens? If you're a conservative, how is this an attack on you? This has nothing to do with you. The only reason it does have to do with you is because you're throwing up a resistance to it. It's because you're actually distorting the actual objective. You're actually distorting the actual reasons for why this whole thing got started in the first place. That's why you're putting yourself on the opposite end of this. But it's not about you. Move out the way, close your mouth, shut up. It's about the way law enforcement is conducted in this country. The only reason it is about you is because you're in support of law enforcement to no end. Unconditional support, and you don't want anything, you don't want any kind of reforms to take place in this country. You're okay with the administrative leave. You're okay with the unjust killings. You're okay with the police brutality. You're okay with all of these $1 million settlements. You're okay with everything.
So let's make it about something else. So he made about everything else that it's not. He made it about Pearl Harbor. He made it about 9/11. He even made it about making money. This is just a money-making thing, and this is just the globalist takeover. Like, what?
Oh man!
Like what? Like he actually drew a connection between Colin Kaepernick kneeling, Nike ad, and globalists, the evil globalist. But I'm like, because it's a money-making endeavor. That's what he's calling it. It's only designed to make money, which is completely ironic since he is making appearance on a corporate news network that kind of receives sponsorship from who? Corporations.
Yep.
Like that entire
and this type of narrative is what gets them those sponsorships.
So it's ironic for him to talk about Nike's money-making endeavor when that is what mass media is here for, because corporations use mass media as a channel to push consumer goods.
Like, people like him are the ones that are distorting this whole thing. The players have numbers on their side. You can look up FBI statistics. You can see the disparity between black people being killed, in comparison to white people being killed by the police. You can look those up. Like, you can't fudge the numbers are the numbers. You can't do, and you can try to make the numbers look like what you want them to, but the fact still remains that the numbers tell you the exact story. What Burgess Owens has to do is talk about Pearl Harbor. He has to talk about 9/11. And Stuart Varney, he
just sitting there like,
he's like, yeah, all this sounds great. At the end too, he's like, tell me about your book. Yeah, well, what books are you reading? Have you written? I gotta get both of them. Because he's one of the book, I think a past book of Burgess Owens says it's titled something like liberals, like pansies, like something weak men or some junk like that. He's like, oh yeah, that's something that I can live for every day. That's what Stuart Varney said. I'm like, man, get out of here, man. This is funny, man.
Maybe Burgess suffered too many blows to head.
Maybe
during
man.
His football career.
Hey, we know concussions weren't really addressed back then.
And he has undiagnosed CTE.
Like I said,
somebody get this dude.
Player safety was not at the utmost level.
To an MRI scanner, like quick.
But see, you can't detect it while you're still living.
Oh dang, that's right. Well, maybe we should be just like.
Can't say that.
Okay,
can't say that.
Sorry.
One more thing though. A lot of people that are on the other side of this argument, they point to how Colin Kaepernick, like this whole collusion argument that Colin Kaepernick's making because he has filed a grievance against the NFL, that Colin Kaepernick doesn't have an argument, and because who would actually want to hire Colin Kaepernick, noting, I guess, how toxic he is for the NFL, and he's worn the pig socks, depicting police officers as pigs. Like, the NFL owners do not have to collude together to make that decision. Like, he's that toxic. And you know what? For once, I'll be like, you know what? I'm not even gonna argue with that point. For once, I'm not gonna argue with that point. But I do have one name to throw out there, because again, Colin Kaepernick, he's past 30 years old now. I wouldn't say he was a great quarterback. There was a time that he was, but in later seasons, once he took his team, like after he took his team to the Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers, after that, he had pretty mediocre seasons. Now, I still believe he's better than 64 quarterback. Like, he's definitely one of the best 64 quarterbacks. He definitely has a spot as a backup at least, but still. He's aging. Like I said, maybe there's better people, right? I'll allow it. But again, there's one name that I would like to throw out. That name would be Eric Reid. If the NFL owners aren't about this whole colluding business, tell me, how is 26-year-old Eric Reid one of the best safeties in the game? One of the best safeties in the game. I'm not saying that.
That's what the stats.
That's what the stats say.
And that's what the analysts say.
That's what the analysts say. That's how he is regarded universally among football people. one of the best safeties in the game. 26 years old, so he's in his prime. He's not an old guy.
Nope.
In his prime.
Right.
But he's being Heismaned by the league. Can't get a job. Can't even get a backup job. Can't even get a scout team job.
So what you're saying is the whole excuse about Colin Kaepernick not being athletically equipped to deserve a contract, or his play is not quality enough to deserve a contract. You're saying that's bullshit?
Oh yeah. It's
because
what's the
what's the excuse for Reed then?
See, nobody really talks about.
Isn't
Eric
that interesting?
Reed.
How nobody just
talks
talks about that. There's a reason why people are not talking about that, because they would have no out. Because they would begin into a conversation they can't get out of.
Because the conversation about Colin Kaepernick is, hey, look, his talent wasn't even that great. Look at his stats. They weren't that great. That's why they don't want him. What's your narrative about Eric Reed? Did he wear pick socks? No. They're even, you know, they even criticized Colin Kaepernick because of the way he talked about Bashadi, the owner for the owner for the Baltimore Ravens, and Ray Lewis as well, because they were thinking about giving him a contract, and he said some words about them.
It just people have just been like,
Eric Reed doesn't have that baggage.
But it just seems like even when it comes to Colin Kaepernick, it's just people just become magically politically correct all of a sudden and are like offended by the littlest things to give themselves an excuse to take a certain position.
Yup.
Oh, look what he said. Look what he did. And I'm like,
see, so that's a name that needs to be thrown out there more. Eric Reed. Whenever somebody talks about Colin Kaepernick in a disparaging way and how the NFL is not guilty of collusion, throw out the name Eric Reed. Just bring that up. Let's see how they respond, because
they probably wouldn't even know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like I said, he's not addressed.
Say, what about Eric Reed?
All right, let's stay with sports. Let's go to Serena.
Oh, word.
So I don't know if anybody likes tennis, partakes in tennis, and enjoys tennis. I've been watching tennis for a long time, years and years and years. My uncle got me involved in it, I believe, like in the early 90s. Love tennis. And the best women's player in tennis right now, and has been for many years, is Serena Williams. So the U.S. Open just got finished wrapping up, and it was Serena Williams against Naomi Osaka. And in straight sets, Naomi Osaka, she beat Serena Williams. Didn't look like Serena Williams played her best. It just wasn't one of her best performances. But there was some controversy involved. So in the second set of this match, she had a public outburst. And it was because of a dispute that she was having with the chair umpire. So this is from the Washington Post, and I'm gonna put this up on the screen here. Umpire Carlos Ramos issued a warning to Williams about receiving coaching from the stands, something that happens often but is prohibited in Grand Slam events like the Open. Williams protested verbally after the warning. Later, she smashed her racket and was penalized a point. She angrily called Ramos a thief, pointed out that she has never cheated, mentioned how she tries to set an example for her daughter, and demanded an apology. Ramos penalized her a game for verbal abuse, something virtually unheard of in such an important match. She later was fined $17,000, $10,000 for verbal abuse, $4,000 for the coaching violation, and $3,000 for the racket abuse. So again, I noted before, I'm a fan of tennis. I've been watching tennis for many, many years. I can attest to how rare a circumstance this is, where somebody, the first violation was the coaching. Now, the coaching is just, your coach is always in the stands, and the coaches are always vocal, pointing. They're always saying something. This happens in any match. It doesn't matter if it's a Grand Slam event. It doesn't matter what tournament it is. It always happens. It's never really it's never really applied like a penalized point or anything. It's really never, nothing's ever done, because people are talking in the stands. People are pointing in the stands. Of course, the coach is going to be doing that as well. Now, if there's some like, okay, if the coach gets down there, if like walks down to the actual court and tries to coach them, you can't do that in tennis. I think it's a silly rule, but you can't do that.
Also,
that's not what happened.
And also, like, if you're just talking specifically about this situation, she wasn't even paying attention though.
Wasn't even paying attention. Like I said, this is something that is historically done by coaches. So that's the first thing, right? So she was applied a point, or she got a warning for that. Then she threw down her racket because she was annoyed because of the way the match was going, right? So then during a break, she walked to her chair and she had this conversation, with the chair umpire, saying that no, she didn't cheat. She doesn't know why she was assessed a point because she broke a racket, because that's something that players do at certain times too. It's not something that, I wouldn't say it's commonly done, but it's not unfamiliar as well. So that's why she was saying, hey, you're a thief. You need to, I demand an apology. You need to give me back my point, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, she was issued a warning, a point, and then a game. So this is something that, if it happens in a regular tournament or a regular exhibition match, okay. But in a Grand Slam event, and nonetheless like a Grand Slam final, this never happens. So there was a lot of talk about this was a huge double standard, because men players do things like this all the time, and they verbally berate the umpires all the time. In 2009, Roger Federer berated a chair umpire. Said something. He was cursing at him. After that, he was actually fined only $1,500 for it. Now, just for the verbal abuse in which Serena Williams did not even curse at the chair umpire. All she did was say that he was a thief.
Basically, you took something away.
You took something away from me. You took a point and you took a game from me. Just for that, she got assessed a $10,000 fine. $10,000, $1,500. That doesn't match up. And again, with men players, they are often allowed like this, like the bar is set much higher for them. Like they have to eclipse a much higher bar to actually, I guess, be assessed any type of kind of violation or some kind of penalty or something like that. For women players, it seems like they're expected to be on their best behavior. There shouldn't be any like public outbursts or anything like that. There shouldn't be any berating of the officials, the umpires, nothing like that. If you do, we're gonna come down heavy on you. That's the kind of that's what we see. I think that's what I see.
Yeah, and to me, it's not just about whether they're fined equally or fined at all, because I watched an ESPN segment with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. Right. That's his name. And they were discussing the issue. And boy, oh boy. I went down in the comment section. I knew I shouldn't have did that.
That's dangerous right there.
And it was atrocious. Yeah, it was outrageous. Basically, there were a bunch of men. There was obvious men in the comment section, you can tell, who were proving the very point Serena was trying to make, because they were trying to make it about, well, men get fined too. I'm like that's not what Serena is arguing. To me, that's not what I'd be arguing either. Like, yes, there are times where men have been fined. I guess the greater point, the more important point, is not about fines, but about perception. Right. And how they are perceived. And that's what she was talking about. That's what she was talking about in regard to sexism. Now, I'm fine if people want to disagree with her claim of sexism, or they may like disagree with how, she reacted in the moment. But I don't get all the extra stuff that I've seen, such as
a lot of extra.
Like denigrating her, degrading her as a human being, as a person. Like I saw her being called like the names of animals. Right. I saw her like all of a sudden she's selfish. She needs anger management. She's spoiled. I'm like, wait a second. Does she always do this? You would think she would.
It's rare.
It's like you would think she does this every day.
Right. So you're saying that the minute times that she actually does engage in this type of behavior, does that really call for
this kind of like define her broadly, define her personhood based on this in very rare circumstances. You know what it looks
Anybody
like
can
to
have
me?
a meltdown
You know what
or
it
whatever,
looks
right?
like to me? It just looks as if there are some people who were looking for an excuse to tear her down.
Right.
That's
when the opportunity is presented, I got you.
Again, like, if I disagree with somebody on an issue, it's just an issue. I'll say, I don't like the way you did this. I don't like the way you did that. Or I don't believe in that claim. You just make your argument.
Right.
I don't understand what's the point in like disrespecting someone's personhood or them as a human being. What is the point of that?
They're making it about her character.
They're making it about
point.
not just her character, but her as a human being. Like I said, I saw a lot of racist language. So I was like, what's the point? You can disagree with somebody without being like that, which kind of let me know that it wasn't about the point. It wasn't about the issue. It was about them wanting an excuse to call her out her name.
Right.
Basically, they were proving the very point she was making. And I thought that was very ironic.
And so there's also been racist imagery as well. So this is a cartoon that the cartoonist, what is his name? His name is Knight. Yeah, Mark Knight. He works for the it's an Australian publication, I believe. And he came up with this cartoon, and of course it depicts Serena Williams as some hulky woman figure with huge lips, jumping up and down on her racket. There's even a pacifier in the picture. Somebody that is having a tantrum, somebody that cannot control her emotions. And in the background, you can see Naomi Osaka, and the chair umpire is telling her, can you just let her win? So, of course, there has been conversation about, is this racist? Is this appropriate? And the cartoonist, Knight, he has pushed back on all of those claims. He said the cartoon about Serena is about her poor behavior on the day, not about race. The world has just gone crazy. It had nothing to do with gender or race. And I'm not even familiar with this cartoonist, Mark Knight. I've seen claims that he's the best cartoonist in Australia. That might be true. I have no idea what his political leanings are. I have no idea about what he thinks about gender and women and race. I have no idea. So I can't say that specifically, like, this guy is a racist, this guy is a sexist. But I will say that the picture that he drew was racist and it was sexist. He may not understand that, but it definitely was.
Yeah, because you know what? When you internalize certain attitudes and certain notions and certain beliefs,
right,
there's maybe some things you're not aware of.
And
so
they can just come out and you not understand that.
So just because you're not aware of something doesn't mean it's not there.
Exactly.
And I just think it's weird how people are completely ignoring the sportsmanship she showed to Osaka post game, because people were booing.
Right.
They weren't booing Serena Williams.
Yes.
They thought Serena Williams got robbed. Now, of course, Serena did too, but she understands, hey, this is a moment for her.
This is Osaka's first major win.
Yeah. And so Serena is seeing this young girl and seeing herself in this young girl, and it doesn't, like, to Serena, it doesn't matter that she did not get her point. At that moment, like, it's
not the moment for that right now.
It's Osaka's moment, and she instructed the crowd, no boos, give credit where it's due. Right. So, with that added, like, to the whole narrative, into the whole story, how can he make a cartoon like that?
That she's being a baby.
Being a baby.
You can't control her emotions.
You have to completely ignore her post-game address.
Yeah, her whole behavior post-game. And her talking to the crowd.
Like, don't boo. Stop booing.
This is her moment. Like, praise her. Because, to be honest with you, I watched the match. Even if none of that happened, even if any of these penalties weren't, applied to Serena Williams, I still think she would have lost. She wasn't playing her best game. Osaka was dominant. She played a great match. Some of the shots that she hit were, like, improbable. I was like, my gosh, who is this woman, So I don't think she would have won anyways, but that's not the point.
Actually, that makes Serena look a lot better. because they're like the fact that there was controversy around points being taken away and calls, but yet she still stood on stage and pretty much, I guess, made sure that Osaka experienced that moment and got the credit she deserved. Right. It actually made Serena look better. And again, I do think it's interesting that kind of people are pulling that moment away from this entire situation in order to construct a narrative. So if they are pulling that moment away to construct a narrative, it's dishonest. So if it's dishonest, we have to figure out why it's dishonest. Do you see what I'm saying? Right. And the answer is not a good one. You can't get away from it.
No. Like I said, it's a from what I've seen throughout the years, men have been doing this. Men have treated chair umpires and line judges way more severely. They've cursed at them, they've berated them, they treated them significantly worse than what Serena Williams did. But there's not the same level of punishment. And just to note something else that occurred during the U.S. Open, this tournament right here in 2018, there was a player called, his name is Nick Kyrgios, and he was in a match. The chair umpire, who it wasn't the same chair umpire, but his name was Mohamed Layani. He intervened during a break. He came down from his chair. He was the chair umpire. He came down from the chair, went to Nick Kyrgios, and stated things such as, "I want to help you. You're great for tennis. This is not you." So he believed that Kyrgios was not playing his best tennis, and he wanted him to perform better. He's like, "You're great for the sport. You know, do you need a medical break, or you need a doctor, or something like that? Like what do you need? Like, this isn't you. You like what's going on?" He wanted some answers. That was completely inappropriate because the chair umpire is supposed to be completely impartial. The chair umpire does not get to administer advice or counsel to a particular player. That's not the role of the chair umpire. But here this chair umpire is getting down off of his chair and actually talking to a male player, though. Coaching a male player. Serena Williams, a woman. Encouraging. Serena Williams can't receive coaching from her coach up in the stands, which she didn't even pay attention to. No, she has to get a warning for that. But a chair umpire can get down off his perch and actually encourage and like push an individual to like get back into the match, change his mentality. And I don't want to say that it actually had that effect, but he did end up changing his play and he won that match. So I'm not saying that there's no way to tell like if those words of encouragement meant anything, because Nick Kyrgios is actually he's a very good tennis player. Maybe he just turned it around. The whole point is, though, it was completely inappropriate and improper for a chair umpire to do something like that. And you can't talk about the Serena Williams incident and not bring that up in the same tournament, but that related to a man. You understand? There's a complete double standard here.
So basically, people are not kind of looking at the total picture, and people are extracting certain pieces of it. They're extracting certain elements, I guess, in order to make themselves feel better about focusing on Serena Williams.
That picture, man. You can't tell me that was just...
And again, even if you are not focused on the imagery, like, look at the message. The message is kind of an over-exaggeration. I know that's what cartoons are for, but this is a real situation, though. Yes. This is not a cartoon based on someone's imagination. This is a cartoon that was supposed to draw some correlation to real life events. And if you look at the little thought bubble, or it's not a thought bubble, but it's a speech bubble, that's a gross distortion.
Right.
Especially considering how Serena Williams handled herself after the match.
And just look at how she is depicted. Muscular, husky.
Almost like a mammy.
And not very feminine at all. Not very feminine at all.
Serena doesn't even have big lips.
No.
So why would you give her big lips,
Why
my
would
man?
you?
Why would you give her big lips?
All right. think we have some Ted Cruz stuff.
More Ted?
I think
Ted.
we have some Ted Cruz stuff.
He's not playing. He not no more basketball.
No, he's not
Ted.
playing basketball this time. But there are two particular videos.
Got no ankle breaker. Ankle breaker clips.
If anybody's getting ankles broken,
he's breaking his own ankles.
Yeah, he would be the one.
Then he but then he's himself in the balls when he's trying to bounce to his legs, and he hit himself in the balls.
And his thigh somewhere. He didn't bolt. He didn't like double over or anything like that, so he probably didn't get him. But anyway, so Ted Cruz, man, he's a anyway. So Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, at a rally on Saturday, he tried to convey to the crowd that this is election season and the fight that we're in for is a tough fight. Liberals are mad. The people on the left are mad. So we got to be diligent. We got to understand that we got a job to do. We got to win. So he tried to throw in some type of
sorry.
he tried to scare people. That's what he tried to do. He tried to scare people. And so we have the video for you. So we're gonna let you see the video, and of course, then after that, we're gonna come back and talk about it.
The extreme left, they're angry, they're energized, and they hate the president. And I got to tell you, that's dangerous. We underestimate that level of fury and rage. We underestimate that at our peril. It means two things. Number one, we are seeing tens of millions of dollars flooding into the state of Texas from liberals all over the country who desperately want to turn the state of Texas blue. They want us to be just like California. Right down to tofu and silicone and dyed hair. And by the way, I married me a California vegetarian. She's wonderful, but I brought her to the great state of Texas.
All right, so we have some people saying that there was no audio. There was audio. It was just very, very low. We'll play it again because we didn't inform you that the audio is very low. If you didn't hear it pretty good, if you didn't get a sense for what he was saying, turn up the volume because this is as loud as I was able to get it. It's a low audio type of video. So turn it up. I'll give you a few seconds, and we're gonna put it back on for you. Okay.
The extreme left, they're angry, they're energized, and they hate the president. And I got to tell you, that's dangerous. We underestimate that level of fury and rage. We underestimate that at our peril. It means two things. Number one, we are seeing tens of millions of dollars flooding into the state of Texas from liberals all over the country who desperately want to turn the state of Texas blue. They want us to be just like California. Right down to tofu and silicone and dyed hair. And by the way, I married me a California vegetarian. She's wonderful, but I brought her to the great state of Texas.
All right, now turn the volume back down. We don't want to bust no eardrums or anything. Ted Cruz. I've often categorized Ted Cruz as lame. Very, very lame. Lame guy, so of course his message is gonna come out lame. Anything that he does is gonna come out. He makes lame expressions, and the comparisons that he draws, of course, are going to be lame. He said that leftists want to turn Texas blue, which is true. Nothing wrong with that. He also said that leftists want to turn Texas into California, and he said that comes with tofu, silicone, and dyed hair.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. Like, oh man, you better this O'Rourke character. Man, if you elect him, your lives are going to be full of tofu and titties.
You know what's funny though? His wife dyes her hair. I think she was a brunette in college.
And obviously, he's talking about like really vibrant colors, like pink and like fluorescent, like tangerine, like this like dark, like bright burgundy. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about. See,
is that synonymous with California?
Oh, but see, no, it's kind of coded. Like he's dumb, but it's kind of coded. Tofu is like supposed to mean like
healthy.
See, no. See, Texas is like we eat meat here in Texas.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, but it's not about health though. It's about more like he's like calling. Hey, he's gonna like make us into wimps.
Okay.
Like, see, we like our ribs and our steak and our hamburgers. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And our bacon. See, O'Rourke. See, he represents, these blue weakling states that like tofu.
Snowflakes.
And if y'all start eating that tofu, y'all will get swept away in the wind. And then you have with the silicon, which represents like fakeness.
Right.
Like he's gonna that's that Hollywood, as if somehow like California itself is defined by Hollywood.
But
you see what I'm saying?
Even that doesn't, because of course California has silicon. Like I know what I know what you're talking about. It means like Silicon Valley.
I think he's talking about like
silicone. No, I don't think he's talking about that.
You think?
I think he's talking about Silicon Valley, like that type of. Like you were saying, it does have like a celebrity kind of aspect to it, but Silicon Valley is normally like
elitist.
elitist, liberals, stuff like that.
And the dyed hair thing is probably kind of like more about like, I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching, but that seems to be like kind of an appeal to a less plain, less. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's a less plain, less traditional, I guess, type of aesthetic. So it's like, we don't want none of that here. We like our lives normal. Like, we like our oatmeal with no cinnamon, no raisins, no salt, no nothing here in Texas. Like, you know what I'm saying? That normal Leave It to Beaver type, no, nothing so extravagant as dyed hair. It can't have none of that.
This dude he's just lame, man. It's like when you don't have anything, or when you don't have really much to campaign on, you gotta do things that are out of the box. You gotta. We know that conservatives fearmonger like the best of them. Like that's their whole stick. Like they have to fearmonger. They have to say, like you said with tofu, like you're gonna be a weakling. Like you can't eat. Well, we're meat eaters here.
Yes.
We're strong. You remember he grilled some bacon
on like a machine gun.
Yeah, man. See, that's Texas.
And like Marsha said, none of this stuff is specific to California. That's another thing that makes it so ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like I said, he's ridiculous, right? So we'll get to the other video that he did now. Now, this was something that happened. It was about a week ago, and he actually I guess it was like an unofficial campaign video, but it was a hit piece on Beto O'Rourke. So he actually put this on his Facebook page. So we're going to show you that clip or that video that he put on his Facebook page, and we'll talk about it, but then there's some added reference material that you need to see after that.
The reason I ask this question is, as a voter, I don't know how I would feel to have my own elected representative being open to kneeling on the Senate floor or encouraging and supporting acts that desecrate our American flag.
I think that there is something inherently American about that. And so I'm grateful that people are willing to do that.
That was it. That's what he put on his Facebook page about a week ago. You heard the questioner ask him about desecrating of the flag, of the United States of America flag. And there was a brief pause so that you could see a message saying that this is exactly how Beto O'Rourke responded. And Beto O'Rourke responded by saying that, I think that's inherently American, and I don't see nothing wrong with that, blah, 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 right? This is one of the slimiest ads that I've seen, because Ted Cruz couldn't deal with the truth here. Ted Cruz couldn't actually put in his little ad what exactly happened. He had to splice the video up and make it seem like what Beto O'Rourke was talking about was the desecrating of the flag. But that's not what he was talking about. Now, see, Ted Cruz on his, I believe it's on his YouTube page. He did put the full question and answer on his YouTube page, and this is about it's like a 4 or 5 minute video. But he didn't put that into his little ad. Now I wonder why he didn't put that. Would most people be like more inclined to watch like a little 20-30 second video or a 5 minute video?
Probably a 30-second video.
Probably so. That's why ad spots are so short, right?
True. But like, to me, along with Ted Cruz as a person, this kind of has fail written all over it, because he uploaded the full, like, I guess, event.
He did.
To his own YouTube channel, right?
Right. Well, I don't know if it was the full event. It was just that
part. But he did upload
portion.
the entirety of that question and
yes,
answer.
He did. Yes.
So how you going to make a distorted campaign ad, but then upload the full context of the exchange on your own YouTube channel?
Because you're a slimy guy. So this is the beginning of the question. This is the question, and this is how Beto O'Rourke started to answer the question.
My question is with regards to your remark that there is nothing more patriotic than for NFL players, when discussing NFL players, kneeling during the national anthem. And I'm curious as to know if you hold the landmark Texas Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court case, Texas versus Johnson, to that same standard, where a man was charged for burning and desecrating an American flag on the state capitol. And do you disagree with the dissenting opinion that the American flag is a unifying symbol that should be respected and revered, as it plays no politics? And I guess the reason I ask this question is, as a voter, I don't know how I would feel to have my own elected representative being open to kneeling on the Senate floor or encouraging and supporting acts that desecrate our American flag.
Thank you for the question. And thank you for being here. My comments about there being nothing more American were about there's nothing more American than standing up for, or in this case, kneeling for your rights under the Constitution.
So that is how Beto O'Rourke began to answer the question. At no point during his answer, which again lasted about 4 minutes, at no point during his answer did he address the desecrating of the flag. You know how when politicians, candidates run for office, when they are given 2 or 3 part questions, sometimes they don't answer all parts of the question. Sometimes they only answer one part, they keep it moving. This is what Beto O'Rourke did. He never even mentioned the desecrating of the flag. So the short clip that Ted Cruz showed, where he's saying like that's inherently American, he wasn't talking about the desecrating of the flag. He was talking about the kneeling. And you remember that clip that did go viral, I think it was a Now This clip, or Now This shared it and made it viral, in which Beto O'Rourke was talking about the kneeling, and he was supportive of it. And he said that there was nothing to be, it wasn't disrespectful to veterans, and it wasn't disrespectful to the flag, and it wasn't unpatriotic. And, that's what the questioner was responding to. And so that's what Beto O'Rourke tried to make clear, his position on that to the questioner. He did not address the desecrating of the flag. So why did Ted Cruz distort what actually happened?
Because he doesn't want to challenge Beto on actual issues, because he knows he will lose. That's what you do. These are the things that you do when you know you're a loser.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, and I guess when it comes to this campaign, like, I'm convinced that, Ted Cruz is not just tripping over himself because he's a corrupt slimeball. I think he's just that shallow of a person, actually. I think he's that shallow of a person. I think he's both. He's both corrupt.
Yeah.
And only cares about, I guess doing work for the 1%. And I think he kind of internalized that same superficial appreciation for American symbols and being patriotic. I think he's just as simplistic. So I think he's both.
I think he's a fake guy. Whenever you see his facial expressions, notice how, like, when he's finished talking and he does a pause and maybe there's some applause or something like when he pauses and the audience claps or something like that, you can see his facial expressions, and they're like,
he's
like,
and he's yes,
what is that? That's not normal.
It's not normal. He's made himself into that, and I think there's a
he's a caricature of himself.
And I think that caricature has become him. You see what I'm saying? That's all he knows how to be now. So who knows who he really is? I think he might think who he is, who he really is. But see, that's the thing. Like, honestly, like, but who do you blame, for that though? You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you blame for that? Who do you blame for, Ted Cruz trying to appeal to certain voters with, I guess, simplistic and elementary concepts? You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's not anybody that would, like, I guess, receive that message, there'd be nobody to appeal to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these superficial concepts of patriotism and flag worship that really don't affect their lives. There would be, like, no need for him to run a campaign like that if there were not people who actually receive that with, like, a warm heart. You know what I'm saying?
Like, their full-throated support for that type of nonsense.
Yeah, he's kind of like catering to, like, that happy-go-lucky group of people that thinks everything is okay in America as long as people are being patriotic and they pray. Mm-hmm. That's what he's catering to.
On the text that appeared with that slimy video, it came from Catherine Frazier, who is the spokesperson for Senator Ted Cruz, and it stated from her, it said, talking about Beto O'Rourke, his position is an appalling display of disregard to those who have put their lives on the line to preserve the very freedoms the American flag represents. Texans certainly do not share such views, which have no place in a Lone Star state. Again, furthering the distorted commentary from Beto O'Rourke. And just to be clear, I think there might have been one time that Beto O'Rourke actually did mention, like, the desecrating of a flag, like people destroying a flag or burning a flag, and he has stated that he's not supportive of it. Now, it's not against the law, and he understands that. I believe that's what he says, but he's not in support of it. I'm not in support of burning the flag. I don't think that's an apt way to protest. I don't think that's something that will have a positive reaction. I can think of many other things that one can do to actually draw attention to themselves, to actually advocate for positive change, than burning the flag.
But I don't even think that's kind of like, the burning of flags is not something that's like that prominent. It does happen, it does occur, but it's not something that's that prominent.
Like you said, it's not that prominent. Who actually does that? Does that even receive news coverage?
But see, like, think about the question that Beto had to field, though. What does that tell you? Just how he framed that question. Mm-hmm. That tells you what type of person he is.
Right.
Just like not just the fact that he had to answer it, the fact that it was a loaded question.
It was.
You can tell he's like, the desecration of our flag.
Which, was that ever an issue? Like, did you hear Beto O'Rourke say, yeah, I support that? Or like you said, if it was pervasive, if you actually saw this occurring all over the country, then okay, it would probably be an issue that politicians probably would have to answer about. But why are you throwing that on Beto O'Rourke when it's not an issue?
To me, it's just like trivial, because there are people who are willing to throw away an entire politician, because I guess, even though that politician might create a better condition for them, mm-hmm. they are pretty much in opposition to that politician because of an inconsequential stance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Empty patriotism.
Like, fuck a better life. The flag needs to be protected.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Empty patriotism, man. Like, we need to protect this flag, but I don't want clean water.
We needed to protect this flag, but man, fuck healthcare.
And after there was some backlash about this, Catherine Frazier, who again is the spokesperson for Ted Cruz, she made another statement, and this one said, the question he was asked was regarding Texas versus Johnson, a case specifically about flag burning. The questioner referenced it specifically too. We listed the congressman's exact words and in context and posted the full video along with the relevant excerpt. If he didn't mean that, then he should explain what he did mean, because the question was clear. Now see, this is definitely a tactic. So this is the Cruz campaign. This is their effort to throw shit against the wall and have Beto O'Rourke answer for it. Like, hey, he's the one that said it. We distorted his words. We distorted his whole position, but let him answer for it. You know what I'm saying? He put the shit on the wall, not us. No, you did. You did. You're the one that created this whole thing. But you don't want to answer for that. Hey, his words are what they are, man. He said them. Let him answer for it. You distorted his words. Hey, man, talk to him. Talk to him, man. Ted Cruz is a slimy guy, man. Slimy guy, man.
What's worse, Will? Taking large sums of money to further the interest of corporations over, I guess, the well-being of human beings, or making sure the flag doesn't get desecrated. Or burned, or
dude,
or people kneel. Like, what you say? What's worse, burning a flag,
aren't we
or being a sellout?
Aren't we in the country where people raise the Confederate flag? Aren't we in a country where people do that?
Not just raise the Confederate flag.
Yeah,
they place this Confederate flag on everything they own.
Right. And see, I think most of us, like, we don't like the sight of Confederate flags. But if you want to have a Confederate flag, cool. Have a Confederate flag. We understand what that means about you. At least I think that tells me something about you, whether it's like something that you're conscious of or not. I mean, that like, I guess that summons a certain type of mentality for me. But you're allowed to do that. I would much more be having a conversation about, like, Citizens United and money in politics and McCutcheon, you know, like, I mean, I would rather have a conversation about that. And I remember when he was running for president, Ted Cruz, in 2016, he was asked very early on. It was at a forum before a debate, I believe, and he was asked about money in politics and if he was, I guess, supportive of overturning Citizens United, and he said no. He said what the people really need is just to know. They need transparency. Like, we need to be transparent. So as long as people know where the money's coming from, everything's okay.
So as long as people know I'm bought off, it's okay. That's long as people know that I am torn between working for them and against them, then it's okay.
Right. Open bribery is okay. Because it's open.
I don't think that's how it works. Or that's not how it should work. That's actually how it does work.
It does work just like that. Beautifully, it works like that. But, man, look, I believe in a long time, this is Texas's best chance at actually having a Democratic senator from the Democratic, or, you know, have a Democratic senator. And, I believe that there's certain things that, you know, we might not see eye to eye with Beto O'Rourke on. One being that Blue Lives Matter vote that he did. Definitely. Yeah. Like I said, certain things that I won't agree with him on. Is he a better candidate than Ted Cruz?
Who isn't?
Oh my!
Who isn't a better candidate than Ted Cruz? It's just Beto O'Rourke is just far ahead.
Not even a question.
Not even a question.
Not even a question, man. So, all right. I think we're gonna wrap this up. At least we're gonna wrap up the our content for the show. We have some other things to address. Maybe we'll address them a little bit later, but we're gonna open this up for callers now. So if you do want to call in, if you have something that you want to get off your chest, if you have a comment or a question, definitely call us. The number is 669-900-6833. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your vantage point, your analysis on anything that we have covered today, and maybe some other things that are going on right now that we didn't have time to address.
Yeah, we welcome original thoughts. Welcome original thoughts.
Mike ain't gonna get off that.
We love you, Will. We love you, bro. We love you.
Original, man. Original.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to, I think it's, I want to say it was Gaillard.
It was.
It was? Okay, all right. I'm correct in stating your name in regard to you sending us some super chat cheese. We really appreciate that. Every little bit counts. Every little bit helps. Without that, we are broke broadcasters. Actually, with that, we are broke broadcasters.
We're not on the way yet.
Yes, but we still thank you.
No doubt. Every little bit helps.
Yes.
No doubt. Every little bit helps. We definitely appreciate it. And we also we have some other contributors, some financial contributors that I want to mention too. We have a new patron on patreon.com as well that I do want to highlight. Let me see here. Where is this one at? I think it's here. Yeah. Loomis Doomis.
That's got to be like a I don't know, kind of like one of those like Twitter username type stuff.
Yeah.
Loomis Doomis.
Hey, whoever you are,
whatever it is,
thank you for making the decision to support us financially. Like I said, that's hard-earned money, and
that's
we
a handle
appreciate
right
that.
there.
No doubt.
Loomis Doomis.
Loomis Doomis. I don't know what that means, but we appreciate you, man. Man or a woman? Oh, I don't know what you are.
Hell, trained about Waldo Faldo. Waldo Geraldo
Loomis
Faldo.
Doomis.
To be exact.
Also, we was sent a contribution on PayPal as well from Matthias Fritz, and he's from Austria. So that's a long way from here.
Yes.
Straight up.
Send us a grip.
Yeah, it was a large donation, large contribution.
Appreciate that.
We definitely appreciate that all the way from Austria. We didn't know our message was getting all the way to Austria.
Like doubled our net worth.
I'm sorry.
Which is not too hard to do.
True that. So definitely we appreciate that, Matthias. Definitely, man. We got certain plans. We gotta kind of upgrade this thing. Yeah, this is gonna help a lot. So definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. Let me set up this.
Recluse said I'm a broke listener. Ain't that the truth, man? Ain't that the truth?
Let's see. What?
He is not valid.
Hold up, maybe I didn't put in right because I'm not. Oh yeah, you know what? I think I put. Yeah, okay. Because this is all backwards.
All it's backwards, yeah.
All right, there we go. All right, there we go. All right, so right now we don't have anybody waiting to speak with us. Let's see. All right, so we're just going to keep an eye on this. And if anybody does want to call in, like I said, this is your opportunity to be heard. Like I said, we do have a few other things that we can talk about. Representative Chris Collins from New York. We talked about Representative Chris Collins a few weeks ago. Representative Chris Collins has been charged with insider trading. And in his first interview since being indicted, he called it the, quote, shock of all shocks when he first learned of the indictment. He said he was at home chilling. He said he was at home chilling in his bathrobe when he came to the door and there were federal agents there and they came to talk to him. And so they had some length of conversation, maybe about, I got the feeling it was about 30 minutes, something like that they had a conversation. And at the end of it, he learned that he was a target of the investigation and that he was going to be charged for the insider trading. So Collins insisted that he is completely innocent and he will fight the charges. He has declined and refused to resign from Congress, but he is not running for re-election in November's general election. This is all about, like I said, this is all about insider training. We noted before that prosecutors are alleging that Representative Collins provided inside stock tips related to an Australian company, a pharmaceutical company called Immunotherapeutics. And he provided these stock tips to his son, who then relayed that information to his girlfriend, who then relayed that information to her parents. And this is all within minutes of finding out that there was a certain drug. Representative Collins, who at one time sat on the board of this company, he found out that there was a multiple sclerosis drug, a notable drug that it was looked like that this was going to be the next, great thing for multiple sclerosis. And it had failed its clinical trials, and that the results of those clinical trials were going to be made public. So what Representative Chris Collins did was hop on the phone, get in touch with his son, who did have stock in the company, and then talk to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend talked to her parents, who had stock in the company as well. So pretty much they all sold every bit of the stock except for his son, because he had way too much of it. If he would have sold everything, then it would have created it would have been like a domino effect. Like it would have definitely tipped off the SEC. So he sold most of it, just not all of it. But all told, they all saved $768,000.
But see, little did he know that the FBI was already on to him. But I think it's like, I don't know, it just seems amazingly obtuse that he's in shock. That he's
shock of all shocks.
He's in shock that he finds himself in this predicament. Like, you know what I'm saying? I guess when you cheat the system your whole life, I guess it's a shock when things catch up to you.
True.
He assumed that that rich guy, that rich white guy, Teflon Poncho, would always protect him. You know what I'm saying?
See, like Teflon Hillary, she's able to get away with that. But see, that Teflon didn't apply to...
I'm shocked that laws apply to me. Maybe he thought that because his crimes occurred during the Trump administration, he escaped. He'd get away with it. Unfortunately for Collins, Trump does not run the DOJ and FBI.
That's true. That's
true.
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why it's another reason it was ridiculous for Trump to mention that, Collins was, I guess, targeted during the Obama administration. That's ridiculous. That's not how things work. Trump thinks presidents have, the power that he wants to have.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Ultimate power.
So him mentioning that, he was targeted by Obama suggests that Obama is running the FBI and the DOJ, which he doesn't. And at first I'm like, you know what? He's just doing that, I guess as a cover to present it as something that it's not that Collins did wrong. It's just a political target. But I think he's actually that dumb. And
well, what would he be saying about himself then? Because if Obama had the ability to do that, he's a dictator. So what would that say about the United States of America?
That's what I'm saying. He's projecting. He thinks that Obama has the same power he wants to have, right, and he doesn't. But then it's
like a rude awakening. He thought he was going to come in with authoritarian powers, but he doesn't have them.
But see, that's the thing. The funny part about it was a lie anyway, because Christopher Collins committed the crimes, I think, in 2017. He committed the crime in 2017.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Yeah. So how could he be targeted?
How could he be targeted by Obama? He was actually heard over the phone bragging. He was, because reporters were there. So actually, he was heard with he was an earshot of reporters. Reporters heard him. I think cameras captured the moment too, where he was bragging over the phone, talking about how much money he just made. People. This was at a White House event. And this was mentioned at the briefing that announced his indictment.
Yeah. And there was, like federal agents are able to get your phone records. So there was an email that alerted Chris Collins of this failed clinical drug trial. Within minutes of reading that email, he hopped on the phone with his son. There was a flurry of calls. You can't tell me that you're not guilty of anything. And I don't think he has a leg to stand on. I can't even fathom what his defense is going to be. He said he's going to fight it. He's going to fight it vigorously. He has his innocence. He's not backing off of that. But like I said, the details of the case seem to suggest his guilt. And then if you even talk about the girlfriend and her mother, the girlfriend of Chris Collins' son. Chris Collins' son is named Cameron Collins. And his girlfriend is named, Lauren Zarsky. And then her mother is Dorothy Zarsky. So Lauren and Dorothy, they reached a deal with the SEC in which they would repay, quote, ill-gotten gains to the SEC without admitting to any wrongdoing, and there would be no charges filed against them. Now, why would they repay all them thousands of dollars of money if they didn't do anything wrong?
Oh, so you're saying Collins' reaction to the indictment is obtuse considering what the other players in the situation have done.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I can't imagine what his defense is going to be.
Because his in-laws have already owned up to their responsibility, so it makes no sense. So how is he still like stuck with a shocked face or like a why me face as far as like coming to grips with that he did something illegal? Because the people that he kind of led into this situation have already come clean and have already made moves, I guess, to rectify the situation.
Except who's being charged.
Except the person who's being charged.
Like Chris Collins is being charged, his son Cameron is being charged, and the husband of his in-laws. His son's girlfriend's father. He's being charged too. His name is Steven Zarsky. So those three are being charged right now. I guess they don't want to come clean.
So how does like
they probably made the most out of this, the son and the husband. The husband of the wife, whatever. They probably made the most. Like they probably retrieved most of the money from these sales. So look, it just
looks bad.
It looks horrible.
It looks bad when there are individuals who are kind of in the same circumstance as you are owning up to their responsibility in this, and the ringleader is not. That just doesn't make sense.
Like they got the tip from somewhere. And it was an inside tip. We know it was an inside tip because this was not publicly released information. So it had to be somebody on the inside
that had a connection to the company and a connection to them.
Yeah.
Who could that be?
This is really difficult, man. All right, so we got a caller. So let's set this up so we can take this call. All right. So we got a caller from the 770 area code. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, this is Tony.
What's going on, Tony? How you doing?
All right. Yeah, I was just calling to comment on the couple things. Like first Obama. I mean, when he gave that speech, I mean, I think it's good, and at the same time, it's like I don't know about this jacket. I don't know about this joke. I don't know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's good because like we finally get Obama, the poster child of of the Democratic Party still to this point, to actually get behind Medicare for all. But at the same time. But at the same time, it's like you ran on that and you did nothing.
Yeah, you right with us, man.
Double-edged sword.
You right with us, man. Like, give like him maybe a tenth of an ounce of credit,
right?
But then you have to look at you know, I guess him comprehensively and how he approached the situation, and the rest of the, I guess, the contents of the bag is pretty shameful.
Yeah, I guess when Obama was running for it, of course it wasn't called Medicare for All. I don't know that there was within his campaign, I don't know if there was like the trajectory was at the level it is now. I don't know if you saw many members, and let me say not many, there are several members of Congress that, you know, that new caucus, the Medicare for All caucus. There wasn't something like that back then. So maybe this means more now than it did in 2008 when he was doing it. I'm not sure.
Why do you think he's doing it, Tony?
Now, you know, because he's seeing all the energy. He's seeing all the energy and how it makes people gather around it and coalesce around a cause. That's got to be the reason why he's doing it.
Yeah, all the momentum is pointing towards Medicare for All, and it's not just Democrats that are in support of it. There are a lot of Republicans, a majority of Republicans actually, that are in support of it. So it's like he's saying something that most people agree with. Used to say a lot of
exactly. And another thing that bugged me is when he was like, "Oh, this new Medicare for..." No, it's not new. It's like Bernie Sanders was talking about 2016. That was like a major part of his platform. It's like, what the hell are you talking about new? It's like, and then we've been talking about it for the past 2 years after Bernie lost, so it ain't new.
Exactly.
It's like one of those things that, you know, remember how he evolved on same-sex marriage? It's like he evolved on this, you know, even though that's not what, you never said that, but that's the kind of the feeling I get.
Like you said, though, it is, I guess it is somewhat noteworthy that, like you said, the Democratic Party's icon, you know, like the standard bearer for the Democratic Party, you know, Barack Obama, is now seeming to champion the idea. And it's in the way it's being kind of framed right now, Medicare for All, not public option. So for him to actually come out and say it, maybe it does mean something, you know, among Democratic Party Congress members. I'm sure they're still in support of Barack Obama. He's still there. He's still relevant.
Well, like Tony said, he kind of still is the representative for the Democratic Party, even though he's not the president anymore. Because really, who can we look to as far as just within the vacuum of the Democratic Party that carries some respect?
Oh, yo. So Nancy Pelosi about to get behind it. Yo, Nancy Pelosi. Yo, hold on. So hold on. This was Friday. Yo, where's Nancy Pelosi's statement?
That's why. No. That's why Obama had to get up there, because see, Obama is outside now, so it doesn't see what it is like Schumer and Pelosi will constantly have to look like hypocrites and constantly look like curmudgeons.
Right.
See, this way the Democrats, like, I guess, have a way of, I guess, using Obama as a way to kind of like smooth things over, even though he truly has no legislative power. That's the way they like play both sides of it. Now he is the representative for the Democratic Party and not the curmudgeons. You see what I'm saying? And I think that connects to a point that Mr. Dead in My Pocket made, and he says Obama is using Medicare for All talking points to sheepdog people into the Democratic Party, which makes a lot of sense because, see, he doesn't want, I guess, people voting for the individuals who are actually championing those kind of the progressive agenda.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So he's still that symbol for the Democratic Party. So yeah, people kind of still have this kind of progressive mindset, but then Obama comes along and he's kind of like pulling them in the direction of the individuals he endorsed.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Dead also said it's safe for Obama to talk about it because he's not in office. He can talk, but he doesn't have to act on it, like those curmudgeons.
Yeah, like the curmudgeons do. Like I said, he has no legislative power, so it's like easy for him.
Mad
and he can try to white knight for the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party can benefit from him promoting Medicare for All without the curmudgeons.
Yeah.
like actually moving on the issue. You know what I'm saying? Or actually supporting the issue.
But from 2009 to 2017, it was difficult for him to champion this same type of ideology.
But I mean, because it was such a new idea, he didn't have a grasp on it.
Oh, that's right. It was new. My bad.
Yeah. That's to me. It's like a double-edged sword with him. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, he's a great speaker. He can rile up a crowd. He can energize them. Like I said, man, that's what drew people to him. He says all the right things. You want to believe in him, but you know, when you have 8 years of his track record, it's like, man, come on, man, get out of here, man.
Yeah, and that's the only thing. That's the only thing that I don't like about it. It's like, oh my God, we're going to go back to this incrementalism and gradualism. Like, oh, we can only do so much. Oh my God, they're too racist and they're too sexist. It's like, no, man, no, that's not going to work this time.
They had to essentially. Obama is the big guns here.
Yeah,
Obama is the big guns because, you know, while we're trying to, I guess I don't know, determine who is the most viable candidate for Democrats in 2020. And there's so many names who've been floated around: Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, who else? Elizabeth Warren.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of
Elizabeth Warren.
Even Biden, all these names have been floated, and for the most part, nobody's truly excited about them.
No.
So again, then nobody is truly excited about them. So again, they had to bring in that, you know, that Big Daddy Longstroke.
So see, now it's on somebody, one of these candidates, it's on somebody to follow Barack Obama and try to capitalize on whatever energy that he was trying to spread. It's on one of them to do it. If it's not Bernie Sanders, like I said, like you said, it's gonna have to be Kamala Harris or Gillibrand or Biden or Warren. I mean, it's gonna have to be. I'd even mention Cory Booker, the fake Booker, which
he's like the white Howard Dean. I mean, the black Howard Dean.
The black Howard Dean.
Sorry, Cory. My bad.
Yeah, Cory's pretty much he's in the sunken place, man, because he took money from Trump's son-in-law for his campaigns.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the hell he's gonna ever recover from that. Nobody's gonna want to vote for him for president. I know I'm not.
If it's not, like I said, at this point, of course, the only one of them all that I guess is within the Democratic Party, but not officially, is Bernie Sanders. He's the only one that could really draw interest at this point. We have a little while to go before 2020 gets here, but we know that in 2019 the campaign is going to start. So
yeah.
Which one of them, you know, is going to really emerge head and shoulders above the others? I have no idea.
I don't think Cory Booker is like coachable. I just don't think he comes off genuine. You know what I'm saying? He has that kind of same androidish passion.
He's like the black fake
Ted Cruz.
Energetic. He said Ted Cruz. See, I wasn't gonna go there. That was harsh, man. Tony. But nah, I was gonna say like the black fake energetic Kerry.
With very
John Kerry.
Yeah, you true that. Like with very expressive eyes.
Yeah. Trying to hijack Medicare for All, like Bernie's Medicare for All event, man. That was crazy back then, man. He was the most lit, man.
I think he's like, it just feels like Cory Booker is always hyped up on something because his eyes are always like very intense. Like, I'm Cory Booker.
Damn, L Train said Cory Booker is like A-Rod, never quite Jeter.
Damn.
And I also wanted to comment on the that whole the Serena Williams thing, like that cartoon that you showed.
No doubt. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And they showed I can't remember her first name, but I know her last name is Osaka because of the same name as the city. But it showed her. She looked like she was a white girl, and it's like, get the hell out of here, dude. Did you even watch the tennis game?
Exactly.
See, that's what we're talking about his denial about what he was trying to convey in the picture, regardless of whether he was aware of it. It's completely illustrated in the picture. And so he was channeling something regardless of whether he was aware of it or not. There are just too many elements within
definitely.
that to deny.
Look at the rest of his political cartoons, and you'll see it. And I mean, he's just a conservative bigot, dude. Just look at the rest of his portfolio, the rest of his artwork on his website, and you'll see it.
He tried to get around that, saying that because in the picture, Osaka had the blonde hair, and but Osaka, she does have the blonde highlights in the, the back of her hair, or ponytail. He's like, hey, see, it's not racist. That's actually what she has, the ponytail. It ain't about all that, dude. It's about how you depicted Serena Williams as opposed to how you depicted, Naomi Osaka. Man, come on, man.
And then
everybody can see what he's trying to
the speech bubble that kind of takes everything out of context and puts it into another context which supports the narrative that we are trying to kind of offer some sort of counterpoint to. You know what I'm saying? So there's just too much internalized prejudices to even try to address these things straightforward head on, because it's too embedded inside people's consciousness.
And like a point that you were saying too is like, is this something that Serena Williams is known for? Is this something that is indicative of who she is as a person or even as a tennis player? Like, there might be a handful of incidents where she has exhibited some of this type of behavior, but so has many other players. So has many other male. Man, do you remember John McEnroe? Does anybody
he used to throw a
John
fit all the
McEnroe?
time.
Oh my god,
he threw a fit almost every other game.
Exactly. I don't remember any cartoons.
He was the angry white man. He was like that. Remember that movie Falling Down? That was John McEnroe.
Yo.
Man. So yeah, this is something that I mean, for some reason it's sticking to Serena Williams, even though it's not behavior that she has shown time and time and time and time again. Like, why? You got to ask yourself why, man. There's got to be something deeper than that.
Yeah, it is. I'm telling you, just look at the rest of his stuff. Look at his Twitter feed or all the cartoons that he drew. You'll see it. I mean, you just look at the themes and stuff that he be drawing. It's like, oh wow, okay, I guess you're a conservative, bigot. I mean, what more can I take away from it?
Exactly, man.
But yeah, that's all I want to talk about.
All right, Tony, we appreciate you calling in, man. You're the only one that called in so far, so we appreciate to hear your voice, man.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night.
All right, man.
All right.
All right.
Broke up that empty space.
I'm saying, right? Oh, you know what? Okay, so I did want to highlight. Okay, so Thursday is the New York primary. So definitely, I don't know if we have any people that live in New York that are going to be voting in the primary, but I'm sure a lot of people know people in New York, so definitely get the word out. Make sure they vote. It's definitely important. All of these races are important. But of course, Cynthia Nixon, she is the Democratic candidate that is challenging the incumbent governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. I was about to say Mario Cuomo. And then I went to Chris.
It's hard, man. Sometimes I get them mixed up, man.
Yeah.
But I don't get them mixed up. I just mistakenly say one
just
thing.
say the wrong word. But she's challenging Andrew Cuomo for governor. Definitely progressive. She's made Andrew Cuomo come over to the left and try to beat her to some things. It's definitely a reach. It's definitely an effort. I don't think this is meaningful. I don't think this is something that he is actually that is about him. He's just trying to project this kind of progressive attitude so that voters will not abandon him come Thursday. But I believe Cynthia Nixon is the right choice. So we will see. We will see what the voters think. A lot of people should be voting on Thursday. We'll see how it turns out. Of course, Cynthia Nixon is the underdog, but anything can happen. We've seen that many times. Anything can happen. So she definitely has name recognition. She definitely has celebrity. She definitely has clout. She definitely has the platform that in a state like New York too, which is supposed to be a progressive state, at least the majority of the residents in New York, you know, they live in urban areas, so it is looked at as a progressive state. We'll see how it turns out, man.
Yeah, it's just kind of the key is whether the people of New York are paying attention.
Yeah. But, you know, I've said this about the Green Party, remember? Look, you got to get somebody noteworthy, right? Cynthia Nixon, although she's not running the Green Party, she is running for progressive causes, right? That's her platform. If you want to win, you got to have somebody that can command some attention, that can get their message out, and that takes money too. And I think, you know, she's had enough of it raised, and maybe she's put some of it into some of the money into her campaign as well. But I think she's got her message out there. She debated Andrew Cuomo one time. I think she's got her message out there. So I think she has a good shot. Again, it'll be a tough hill to climb. We'll see. Well, like I said, we'll see how it shakes out. For Attorney General, Zephyr Teachout, she's running. Definitely, and she got endorsed by the New York Times, I believe, as well. I don't know it. I could be wrong, but she might be perceived as a front runner in that race.
You think so?
I'm not sure. You know, I can't even speak to that. I think she has a better shot at winning than Cynthia Nixon does for governor. I think she has a really good shot at winning that race.
She's not really. Well, I don't know if you would consider her a new face.
No, she's not new.
She's not a new face.
Because I believe she ran for governor before too. She ran for governor before. So yeah, definitely, she's definitely a progressive as well. Lieutenant Governor Jumaane Williams, he's running against the incumbent Kathy Hochul. So he's somebody that has been campaigning with. He's been campaigning with Cynthia Nixon and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Also, there is Julia Salazar. She's running for state senate in New York's 16th district. So all of these, like I said, they are these individuals have progressive platforms, and you know, hope they all get to win their races. That would be a good turnout. One thing that I did want to address is we put up a video about the wins in Massachusetts last week on Tuesday, and that was in the case of Rachel Collins or Rochelle. I don't know if it's Rachel or Rochelle, but I mean, it's not Rachel Collins. I think it's Rochelle Rollins. She won in Suffolk County for the district attorney of Suffolk County. She won. And also Ayanna Pressley. She won in Massachusetts. Is it 7th district? I think it's the 7th district. And she beat the incumbent Mike Capuano, who had been in Congress since 1999.
Yeah, that's the race you were kind of. Oh damn. That's the race you were noting, like the similarities in their platform,
right?
With
right.
like kind of one strikingly different stance,
right?
Or like I guess a position on a particular issue.
Yeah, they pretty much had the same platforms. Capuano, again, that was about he had that vote with the Blue Lives Matter bill. That was something that we highlighted, and then his campaign website, the first issue that he wanted to address was resist Trump, which is so empty. Like it's like boo. And then he's been there almost 20 years. Get out of here. Like you've done your service. Get out of here, man. Like we need some new blood in here. And also the district is the majority minority district. Capuano is a 66-year-old white guy. Ayanna Pressley is, I believe, a 44-year-old black woman. So definitely. We definitely need more people of color in office. We need more women in office. We need more women of color in office. So I'm definitely in support of things like that. Now, there have been people that were commenting on the video saying that Ayanna Pressley is not a progressive. Going back to her time in I believe this is 2015, she supported Hillary Clinton for president, and that was over Bernie Sanders, of course. And it was like a full-throated, like a full-throated support of Hillary Clinton. So a lot of people like, you know, you hear some of the things that she was saying back in 2015 and 2016, and seeing how Hillary Clinton was talking, and like I think she came to, I don't know if she came to a church or something like that, but there was some issue about maybe sex trafficking or something like that, that I think Ayanna Pressley said, yeah, you know, how she handled it. You know, it was something that a lot of candidates weren't talking about, but she didn't just give us lip service, blah, blah, blah. She actually answered it, and it was substantive, and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, people are going back to 2016 saying, hey, she didn't support Bernie Sanders, and look what she said about Hillary Clinton. What I say to that is, I got my eye on her. You know what I'm saying? I got my eye on her.
I mean, I think it's like, maybe it's important to know those things, but like, I don't think it's constructive to make that the end of the road.
No, and that's why I say I got my eye on her, because look, there were a lot of people that supported Hillary Clinton in 2015 and 2016, and the people that came out immediately and supported Hillary Clinton, I'll say this about them. Many of them didn't believe that Bernie Sanders would get anywhere near the support that he actually did get. A lot of people believed that Hillary Clinton was the shoo-in. She was deserving of the nomination. It was like a passing of the torch from Obama to Hillary Clinton. It was a no-brainer. She was going to get the nomination. There was not going to be a challenge. So nobody really saw all of this, like this wave of support coming from Bernie Sanders. And I believe a lot of people didn't want to be, you know, standing out in the cold opposing Hillary Clinton if she didn't get, you know, if she did get the nomination. So look, I don't know how, as a representative, Ayanna Pressley is going to vote. I don't know how she's going to legislate. I don't know how she's going to act. I am a little concerned because of her past affiliation with Hillary Clinton. And like I said, she didn't support Bernie Sanders. That's why I got my eye on her. But like you said, I'm not going to throw her out just based on that. I'm going to give her a little rope. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give her a little rope and see what she does. I don't think she's any worse than Mike Capuano. I definitely don't think she's any worse than I have no reason to believe she's worse than Mike Capuano. I actually think she might do better things than Mike Capuano. So like I said, the people that came out in support of Hillary Clinton, especially when Bernie Sanders was like a no-name at the time, there's really only who actually switched their support? Nina Turner? That was only one.
So if people are going to kind of take the action of supporting Hillary Clinton as some sort of no-go or non-starter in regard to a candidate, then there's going to be potentially a lot of candidates that they can't support by default. A lot. It's a lot, man. Including Bernie Sanders, the person who ran against Hillary Clinton.
And ended up supporting her. So if people are holding other candidates to that standard, then wouldn't you hold Bernie Sanders to that same standard? Just for that one thing. You know what I'm saying? Because if that's a non-starter, then I do think there's validity in, like, wanting to see somebody have integrity. Like, if this is something you actually believe in, like, if this is your mentality, if this is your ideology, if this is your platform, then any move that you make, it should be representative, you know, with that in mind. So if you say you're progressive, if you say that you support universal health care and Medicare for all and tuition-free public colleges and universities, blah, 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 whatever, like, you know, eliminating ICE and, you know, just a host of different things. If you say that this is your platform, then it should be reflected in the actions and in the words that you have. So, again, it's something that I'm going to consider. I'm going to keep my eye on her straight up. I'm just not going to say, yeah, you know, she's the best thing. And, ooh, like I'm glad she won. I am glad that she won. Because, like I said, Capuano, I got no use for him. Sorry, get out of here.
And apparently, you know, regardless of Capuano's experience as a career politician, the people apparently...
Yeah, it wasn't close.
I mean, she won handily, so... obviously they were kind of in the same or similar mindset that you were in.
Done with them. Like I said, man, there's a lot of people that automatically back clear Hillary Clinton. There's some people like Elizabeth Warren that just stayed on the sidelines until Hillary Clinton was the obvious winner. I got my feelings about people like Elizabeth Warren. I got my feelings. I'm not gonna say she's no good. I'm not gonna say that. But I got my feelings.
Yeah, and I think like your feelings are going to be tempered according to how much fervor they approach the election with. Not just the election, but who they approached. So, like, we saw Elizabeth Warren not just say, okay, I'm backing the Democratic nominee for president. Right. There was a very emotional embrace.
Yes, there was.
Yes. It was a very emotional embrace.
Enthusiasm. I'm so excited about supporting Hillary Clinton.
Excited to the point where it's like you're standing up on stage with her like she just won like the WWF belt. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like throwing up the fist, like, you know, so it wasn't just like this reluctant, okay, you're the nominee. It's like you're the one that America needs. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm not sure if I might have said this before or I might not have. I'm not sure. But I remember feeling like after the election, took place and Hillary Clinton lost the election to Donald Trump, at that point in time, I felt like that was the time for people that supported Bernie Sanders and people that supported Hillary Clinton. I thought that was the time to actually unify. Like, that was not the time for progressives to be like, see, told you so. Told you so. See, you backed the wrong horse. See, I told you so. I told you. That was not the wrong. I mean, I think that was the wrong time. Like, because these people are actually like the people that we need. Because progressives, that's a small community. That's not enough to actually like win all of these different elections. It's not enough. We actually need voters that consistently vote for centrist. We need those people to actually win.
Because, I mean, realistically, if you're looking at voter turnout just in the general election in 2016, Hillary Clinton got 65 million.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, of course we can go after those who didn't vote, but, you know, I think it's understood that some of those people feel that they don't have anything to vote for. So it's going to be hard to bring them into the fold with this current political environment we have now. So kind of the next best, I guess, strategy would be to try to pull some of those voters from that block. The block of voters that were going to vote for Hillary Clinton regardless. You know what I'm saying? That's the
only place to go, because the people that don't vote aren't going to vote. You're not going to convince them to vote because you ain't got the money to reach them. Straight up. That's just straight up. The people that consistently don't vote are going to continue to consistently not vote. We need active voters actually on our side. I thought the best way was not to antagonize and be like, see, Hillary Clinton lost, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was somewhat funny that she lost because, again, people thought she was the shoo-in. It was a no-brainer. It was already written to history that she won. So, of course, it was somewhat amusing, but that's not the time. No, like, we actually need to get those people on our side. Like, the only reason that they weren't on our side was because of centrist, like because of Hillary Clinton telling them, no, this is a bridge too far. We can't go that far. No. We need to convey to those people.
America is already great. How do you clap back with that? Like, I think, like, just by being contrarian, she thought it was going to, like, have an effect. I'm going to be contrarian and say America's already great. Oh, no.
No. We got some things to work on. But anyway, that's what I feel about Ayanna Pressley. Like I said, I got my eye on her. I got my eye on all these people. I got my eye on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Straight up. I got my eye on all these people. No way should they just get like unconditional support. That's not what we preach here at LTMB. So we'll keep an eye on her, and her platform is what it is. So we'll see if she sticks to it, because it's hers, right? Ain't nobody wrote it for her. It's not the Democratic Party's platform. It's her own platform, right? So we'll see if she sticks to it. Before we end the show, I just want to mention yesterday on Monday, the White House, they said they were planning a second meeting with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. A second meeting. So you remember the Singapore summit, I believe that was June 12th.
Oh, the big one.
The big summit.
The big one.
Yeah. So there's going to be a second meeting. There's no timetable. The press secretary, White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, said that the White House was already in the process of coordinating it, but there is no timetable. When I read this, right, I just had a thought, right? Help me out with this if you can.
I think I know what you're
Help me out with this, right? Okay, so North Korea. You remember once upon a time when Trump was just going hard. Rocket Man.
Blow him off the map.
Fire and Fury. My button's bigger than yours. All of this, right? Just antagonizing. Just like blowing up the situation into a bigger situation. Just pouring gasoline on the fire. Right? And that was all because North Korea had nuclear capability. That was the sole reason, right? Because the United States and President Trump wanted to remove that capability from North Korea.
It's because they're saying he posed a danger to the region.
Not just the region.
The world.
The world.
Especially us.
Because
it was always about him possibly hitting the United States.
Correct.
More so than...
I want to say correctamundo.
The show would have been over after that. But almost more so than the countries around it.
Exactly.
We were the focus.
We all the way over here. But yeah.
His missile could reach Alaska.
So the whole reason why it was thought of as like the number one threat America was facing, the United States of America was facing, is because they had nuclear capability. They had the potential to reach us, possibly.
And since he was a madman, that was just over the horizon.
Right. Now, coming back to present day.
Okay.
This is... Got no watch, but I think it's September 11th. It's September 11th, 2018 now. Does North Korea still have nuclear capability?
I think they do. Oh, yes, they do. Last time I checked.
They do still have.
And according to intelligence reports, they are kind of currently ramping up.
Building new missiles.
Missile side, like I guess... they've been tracking the movements, and there's like a lot of activity going on with their nuclear program.
So, why isn't the same narrative being spread? Especially on like Fox News.
Oh, about like the danger and how Kim Jong-un's leadership in North Korea should hinge upon whether he denuclearizes all that blah 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 stuff.
Because just the mere fact that he
has them,
yes, that is a threat to the entire world.
And again, him having them was like the focus of the Singapore summit.
The whole focus.
That was the whole focus. So, what would be the focus of this new get-together? What are the preconditions?
I don't got that answer.
I'm guessing that they will lower the bar. I'm guessing they will lower the bar.
The bar was lower last time.
Oh, it was that bar was on the ground. They were like, hey, Kim Jong-un, all you got to do is smile. You don't even got to give up your nuclear weapons.
Remember what he said?
Just smile.
He said, Make sure to the cameras. Make sure we look nice and skinny.
Make sure we look nice and skinny. And like everybody was like saying that like Kim Jong-un's feeling was hurt because he was looking like. I was like, no, he just didn't understand them. I was like, I don't think he understands English that well, but he's just like looking around like, did he just call me chubby? He had this like look on his face like, did he just call me chubby, man?
Oh my gosh, man. Yo, all I'm saying is, if they were a threat to not just the region and the world once upon a time and nothing has changed, then I don't understand why they aren't that same threat in September 2018.
Oh, because see now they would look stupid for boosting up that he was a threat, because if they did, that would kind of give light to the fact that the Singapore summit did nothing of significance.
Nothing. That whole agreement that they signed together was actually just like
the promise note that they signed. It was like one. It was basically one of those little.
I know you ain't about to go here.
You know what I'm saying? It was one of them things that the girls used to make back in class. Like,
yo,
like those one of them. I don't even know what you call them. Somebody knows what those are called.
If you do this, you know exactly what that means. Had the color coded, the numbers.
Yo, man, I used to love that, man. Like I couldn't make them. I used to love.
No, I couldn't make them at all, man. I was like, man, I used to marvel at the like, wow, how did you do this?
Yeah, man, girls, man. Shit. I never seen dudes do that. Those are girls who were on that creative tip, man. Class.
Man. I don't think they don't
most
do that
of
no
our
more.
They don't do it. See, most of the boys' notes is just like real simple.
Hell yeah!
Man,
I used to
I remember this
that
girl,
joint was not neat or nothing.
I remember this girl had a crush on me, dog, and I'd be like, man, I ain't doing all this. Like she would pass me the note and be like cartoons and bubble letters and like graffiti like style and animals, and I'm like, all you did was just ask me, is like, do you like me? Do you need all this? I was like, man, I'm like, I don't do all this, man.
You still got any letters, man? I got them somewhere.
I got them somewhere. I had like a shoebox full of them.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I probably haven't gone through that in, man, it's probably been over a decade.
Yeah, the fortune tellers. Yeah, the paper fortune tellers.
Is that what they were called?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah. Because they'd be like, yeah, pick a number.
Pick a number.
Like, and then you had to pull it up and.
Yeah.
That's back in the day, man. Like, now you got phones.
Now you got phones, man.
Tablets.
Now you got emojis.
Yeah, you got Twitter.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's still creative and funny, but it's just not.
It's not the same, man.
It's not the same, man.
It's
not as personalized, man. I do kind of miss those little personalized letters I used to get.
True that, man. Because it took time, man. It took effort, man. Now you just got to shoot somebody a damn instant message. That's it, man.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why these like applications have to always constantly offer these new features to keep it like fresh. Like we have Snapchat, we have all the filters, you can add to it. Right. So
they gotta constantly update.
Constantly update it. You know what I'm saying?
Keep people interested. I think I did. I downloaded Snapchat like maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it's about. I kind of looked at it a little bit. I'm not even interested. I'm not even interested. Though. I don't even know.
Downloaded Snapchat probably like maybe 3 years ago.
Word.
I can't remember. And then I got a new 3 or 4 years ago. Then I got a new phone, and the junk didn't work on my new phone.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, I got a new phone, and it didn't work. It just would not open. It would crash. And all of a sudden, like a month ago, I don't know, I got curious, and I clicked on the app, and it worked. So I'm using my old account now. I don't use it much, but you know what I'm saying. If somebody snap me, I'll snap back.
So how is, for anybody that uses Snapchat, how is it, I guess, different / better than anything else like Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, whatever like that? Like, what are the features that they have that makes it a platform that people will use instead of something else? Because I have no idea.
It's just like, I guess the interface, maybe the interface that, you know what I'm saying. And the like,
I know like messages used to go away or something like that.
There's an option where people could view a particular picture or video for a limited amount of time. Right. Mm-hmm. I think the interface is it accommodates like quick information sharing. You know what I'm saying? I think the interface, obviously Twitter can do that too, but I think the interface allows it to be a little bit more seamless, and there's more like, I guess it just seems everything is more about a story that you create based on pictures. It seems like you can create a story more so on Snapchat than you could do like on like Twitter. That's why Facebook had to update kind of their platform with the My Story shit, right, because that's what Snapchat was doing. So
now Instagram has
that.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's not gonna get on it. I'm not gonna get on it. No. I don't even know why I have it downloaded.
I mean, it's just a matter of preference. I mean, that's what college kids use. That's all they use.
Yeah.
Like they use Snap to, I guess, broadcast that there's like frat parties and stuff. Like it's just like it's like an information center. You follow certain snaps to get certain information. You know what I'm saying? You follow certain people's Snapchats. Even businesses on Snapchat. And right now, Snapchat is nothing. I wouldn't say it's nothing more, but now it operates as like a platform for corporations to promote their ads to. I see a lot of ads being promoted through Snapchat.
You ever heard of
through Snapchat?
Bigo Live. You ever heard of Bigo Live?
No.
It's BIGO Live. I downloaded that before. I don't know how I got routed to it. I don't know who told me about it. How I came upon it, but I downloaded that. It's only for cell phones. So like it's like live streaming. So it's live streaming with your cell phone. I don't think you can like, because I was like, man, okay, at least it's a platform that maybe we could do a show on this. I'm just looking at different, areas of opportunity, whatever like that. But I don't think you can do that. I don't think it has like that software where you can like software we use where we can like kind of feed into it. I think it's solely just for your cell phone. But it's just like random mugs just streaming, just live streaming, just whatever. And like it's some real ridiculous stuff out there. You got people like singing, of course you got mugs twerking.
Of course, man.
You got mugs like cooking, just doing day-to-day stuff like shopping and stuff, just sitting on a couch just talking nonsense. I never heard of it before. Bigo Live.
And like I said, like with Snap, there's a lot more options you can attach. Like you can use a lot more things as far as like, I don't know, texting, different graphics to attach to a message, a photo, or a a video, whatever it is. It's about preference and how you want your message to come off. It's just a little more trendy. That's what they've just kind of, they're just trying to get ahead of the trendy game. That's all.
L Train, we never go live on Instagram. I don't think we have. Nope. I don't even have to think. We've never done it ever. We rarely post to Instagram. It's like I said, like we do all the streaming on YouTube. We do post on Facebook from time to time. We post way less than we used to because we see that it's not really worth our time, really, because there's certain things that will get a lot of reactions. Like the reach will go pretty far, but for the most part, it doesn't. It doesn't matter how many people that actually subscribe to follow the page or not. It doesn't reach them. So like I said, we kind of backed off of that a little bit because, like I said, just doesn't make any sense to really spend any time and effort on it. Sometimes we do, like I said, and on Twitter we get on there from time to time. That's something that I wish that we did do more, but it's just something that, like Twitter, I actually have to like make a mental note to actually get on there. It's not something that just occurs to me.
Yo, like really, I don't even think I had it on my like bookmarks bar. I had it like towards the bottom because there's only so much you can put on the actual bar, and it continues afterwards. You know what I'm saying? If you just click the arrow, the rest of them. I just raised it all the way up, like to like maybe number 3 or 4 on my list. So yeah, that's really the only way that I can constantly keep it on my mind is to have it in front of my face, or like have it on the first page or the second page of my phone, the application.
I don't understand how people do it, because so we're following a lot of pages on Twitter, and you can set notifications for those, for those handles that you want to receive notifications from. So I set, a few different notifications, like news sites and certain, celebrity figures or political figures. I set that to, notify us every time that they post something. Do you know how many times it would notify you?
Yeah, because you're notified of every single tweet.
I'm talking about, this would be like, let's say every 10 minutes, 20 times, probably at least 20 times every 10 minutes, at least. I think that's downplaying it. I think that's downplaying it. It is a crazy amount of notifications, and I started getting, I'm like, oh hell no.
Yeah,
I had to take them all off.
Yeah, because unless you're gonna respond to them, what's the point? You just have to go see what they're tweeting about. Like when you feel like it. Like I really don't. I don't feel the need to do that right now. Like I need to see what this person's tweeting. A lot of people do that because they want to be the first to issue a response.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? They want to be the first to issue a response, especially when a big issue is the talk.
There's some value in that, but man, that takes a lot, man. We do got other stuff to do. I'm just saying, we there is the other stuff that we have to get done too. This isn't.
It's almost like you know how Xavier feels from the X-Men.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, has to handle all of that.
He's getting all these notifications. Like he's getting thousands notifications like all the time, all day, every day.
Nah, yeah. Like I think it would be different. I think it would be different if this was actually our career. This solely was our career, but we aren't there yet.
Yeah, there's some people who like that is their career. I watched something. I watched something like a couple of years ago about a guy who had a Twitter handle, like a popular Twitter handle. He had like a Facebook. He had like everything, and like he would actually take time to like talk to people. Like he would devote I can't remember how long, dog, like half a day. But I was like, that was his job. That was his job.
Right. Like I said, if we didn't have, if there were other things that we could put to a side, like actually making money outside of this, that would open up some time. I think that would open up some time. But like I said, we ain't there yet. We are #broke broadcasters. So, it is what it is. We're trying to elevate to that level, though. But we appreciate everybody joining us for the stream tonight. We hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that we made you laugh. We hope that we informed you just a little bit. Hope that you didn't get too disgusted with Ted Cruz's slimy face, because we know it can promote that.
See, it's like the combination of the face and the voice.
Ugh, gosh, man.
Hey, I'm Ted Cruz. I'm Ted Cruz.
What'd you call him? You called him from the it wasn't the Addams Family, was it?
Dang, what did I call?
What did you call? I got the name in my head, but I can't.
Dang, the son.
Yeah.
Dang, I can't remember the son's name. I think I did call him that.
You did.
Dang.
You gotta think of it, because
somebody in the chat knows.
Was it the Munsters?
Yeah, something Eddie Munster.
Was it Eddie Munster?
But see, now I can't do that to Eddie, man.
you know too much more about
Ted
Cruz now.
Do that to Eddie. Eddie was actually that whole family was cool, man. So I'm not.
Oh man,
he's probably like He's like I guess the whack vampire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
seems like a very corny vampire. Because he has that slick back hair, that, you know what I'm saying? He seems like a garbage pail vampire.
Look, man, now's the time to get that dude out of office, man. He has no redeemable qualities. Get that dude out of office, Grandpa Munster. But like, I think Grandpa Munster was a lovable character, though.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? We can't put that on Grandpa Munster. We can't do that. Can't do that. I know that. I can't, like Eddie Munster. I don't remember that dude too much. I remember his face. I don't remember his behavior, though.
No, I can't remember either.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, we appreciate you staying with us for the whole entire show. Thank you to Tony for calling in and giving us another voice that we can converse with and get your thoughts out there. We will be back on Thursday, hopefully. Hopefully, we will be back on Thursday.
Depending on the weather, of course.
No doubt.
I can assume we're just going to be getting rain, so yeah.
The only thing with that is the electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the electricity goes out, of course we can't do the show. So that is something that, we don't know what the what the weather's going to be like on Thursday night. So we hope that it won't be as bad, and it might not hit until like late Thursday night.
Thursday night. So we might be
Friday
safe
morning,
to do
maybe.
the show. Yeah.
So, but anyway, if you're in the area, if you're in the path of the storm, definitely get out of the way. Don't take a chance. Like I said, this has been described as a monster, the Harvey of the East Coast. So don't take a chance with your life. Get out. So if all goes to plan, we will be back on Thursday, 7 p.m. I don't know. So it's 7 p.m. Okay. I think Mike, you noticed some people coming in at 8, right?
Yeah. I didn't notice. I know it's a large influx of people coming at 8 because we were doing the show at 8 for so long.
Right.
So
Yeah, we did have a long period of time where we're doing at 8.
There's enough people in here.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right. Maybe I'll put a message on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. Well, I don't think we ever changed it on Instagram. I forgot to change it on Instagram. No. But all the imagery says 7 o'clock now. But like I said, maybe people just used to it.
Yeah.
But if you're here and you thought it was 8, it's not 8 anymore. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We look forward to doing that, and we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday. So again, thanks to all of our viewers. Thanks to all the people that were chatting in the chat section. Thank you to Gaillard for contributing to the show. Thank you to all of our patrons. Our newest patron, can't remember his name again. Rimini Dimini or something.
Loomis Doomis?
Loomis Doomis. Yeah, I busted that up.
Rimini
Dimini.
Jiminy Cricket? No, I thought you were about to say like Jiminy Cricket, dog.
My bad, man. See,
Rumpelstiltskin?
Loomis Doomis. Loomis Doomis. And Matthias, all the way from Austria, man. Special shout out to you, man. Appreciate all of the support. So we will see y'all on Thursday, 8 p.m. Be easy. Let the madness begin. Peace out.
Switch, bring it back.